Everybody.
Now we should be able to go live on YouTube as well. Let me know, Jim, if you're live. I'm going to test the audio. Getting started very soon. Jim, can you say something?
Hi, everybody. Test. How's the audio? If you can hear me, say something in the live
Okay,
chat.
good. Everything is working. So we're both live on both
Okay,
YouTube and Facebook. Let's get
great.
started.
Since last year, China is
Wait,
said to
wait,
have
wait.
put it.
No, before we start the news, we
Oh
need to.
yeah.
Okay, so before we start, everyone, this is Atheist Republic News. We're gonna be covering the latest news in the past week, and also the news suggestions that you sent us our ways on atheism, religion, and sometimes other stuff, politics, or other woo shit that you guys sent us our way, ask us to cover. Also, before we get started on the news, Jim, can you quickly thank our new patrons on patreon.com?
Yeah, absolutely. Blake, thank you so much for your $1 pledge. Rachel Davies, thank you so much for your $1 pledge. Abdullah Samir, thank you for your $5 pledge. Christopher Falkenberg, $1 pledge, thank you so much. The Libertarian Skeptic for $5, thank you so much for your pledge. Michael Trollin for $1, thank you, Michael, we greatly appreciate that. Ritam Paul for $1, thank you, Ritam. Danielle V, I think that's how you say it, or Danielle 6. I don't know which one that is, but thank you so much for your $1 pledge. James Allen, thank you so much for your $1 pledge. Greg with 2 Gs, well, 3 Gs technically. Thank you so much for your $5 pledge. We greatly appreciate that. And finally, but not least, from Berserko Diablo for your $1 pledge. Thank you so much for that. You guys, without your donations, we couldn't do what we do, and we thank you so much. If you would like to pledge, go to our Patreon. It's in the link in the description below.
Yeah, and we also have a PayPal option on atheistrepublic.com. But
Right.
thank you, everyone. Okay, let's go to the news now.
First in the news, since last year, China is said to have put at least 800,000 Muslims in camps. This week, State Department official Scott Busby told senators that China has detained at least 800,000 Muslim minorities in internment camps. Since April of 2017, the Chinese authorities have indefinitely detained at least 800,000 and possibly more than 2 million ethnic Khazakhs and other members of Muslim minorities. Reports suggest that most are not being charged with crimes, and their families have little to no information about their whereabouts.
This is insane. And why is this not getting as much coverage? This is
Well,
not. Yeah.
the Chinese government has really put a lockdown on the information going in and going out. In fact, they have said that these are vocational camps and that they've denied imprisoning anybody. But several people have conducted aerial surveillance. They've conducted other types of
Yeah.
in-depth research and discovered that they are in fact imprisoning this Muslim population in China.
No, I was actually halfway through a documentary with somebody that actually went there investigating this stuff. There's some really crazy shit, like secretly recording the police. Like I saw in the documentary that the police just stops them and gets them to check their phone and to see if they said anything against China on their phone. Like this level of police state is, and it's definitely based on religion.
Yeah,
Like they are actually trying to retranslating their Qurans even so to justify what they're doing to them. It's insane, and it's amazing that it's not getting as much attention from not just non-Muslims but even from Muslims themselves. I do see some Muslims covering it, but compared to when Israel, like the coverage of Israel's wrongdoings or U.S.'s wrongdoing, even Muslims are not talking about this.
sure.
Like this is as the amount of shit that the Muslims are going through here in China is astronomically higher than the number of
Right.
Muslims in Palestine. And
This
I'm not saying this is a competition, but why is
right.
it that is getting so much more coverage than anything in China? This is these numbers, and this is just this is only what has been, you know, documented, and only in the past year. The actual numbers are in the millions.
Right.
This is like Nazi camp levels shit. This is like really. This should be on everyone's
Well,
radar right now. I don't understand why nobody's covering this.
there's one
I mean,
particular
not
sect
nobody, but
that
not that many. Sorry.
um there's one particular sect that that adheres to Sharia Islam, and they are called the Uyghurs, Uighur. They account for about 0.8% of China's entire population, about 10 million people. So this is a very, very large population. And a few years ago, they were actually the source of quite a few terrorist attacks. Hundreds of people have been killed since 2014 in China because of this group, and that's a very large population of these people who are being taken in. And the people who are being taken in, they have been victims of surveillance by the state, by China. And if they call out to any Middle East country, if they mention anything, if they have family that are linked to any extremist groups, and they are coming and they are rounding up these people.
You know, it's weird that we're supposed to be an anti-Muslim channel, which people get wrong. We're an anti-Islam channel, not an anti-Muslim channel. And we're and people say we're right-wing, alt-right, bigots, and we are talking about this, but all these regressive leftist channels that are supposed to be defenders of Muslims seem like the best they can do is just basically call people Nazis. But when actual discrimination like this is happening, with actual real bigotry like this is happening, where the hell are these leftist channels that always accuse us of being anti-Muslim? Why are they not talking about this? Like, why is it like this is amazing that people like does everything have to serve an agenda for people to start caring about it? Like these are human beings, and these numbers, I haven't seen numbers like this like the only thing that comes close is the crimes in Yemen right now. This is huge. This is another thing that 10 years from now we're going to look back at and like, what the fuck? Why did people? We keep saying never again, but it seems like nobody gives a shit about these people. Muslims are not talking about it as much as they talk about stuff that has more political agenda, like whatever Israel does or whatever US does. All these leftists that go around and call people Nazi for being saying anything against Islam, they're not talking about it. They just want to find. See, this is about their own local politics. It's never about it's not about defending Muslims, right? It's about being able to. This is about a Western thing. This is not about actually caring about your fellow human beings. This is about, oh, these are right-wingers, I'm left-wing, I have to accuse them of something. These are bigots. Hey, I'm the defender of Muslims. But when Muslims are being wrong, where are you? Oh, they're in this is in China, so I don't give a shit because it's not close. It's not in my fucking backyard. They say like, so this is what it's interesting. They tell us that we shouldn't be talking about Islam because in this political climate, Muslims are being victims, and if you talk about Islam, it plays into the narrative of people that are against Muslims, not Islam. And I'm like, okay, well, here's your opportunity then. And this is amazing because nothing is going to happen about it. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you're just going to blame them now because they're not talking about it. Yes, I am, because the reason why China gets away with these things because there's not much international pressure. People think international pressure doesn't work, but look what's happening to Saudi Arabia. Everybody told us Saudi Arabia, international pressure doesn't work. Saudi Arabia will do whatever it wants. Saudi Arabia, like, oh, who gives a shit if we talk about it or not? It's not going to change anything. As right after this Khashoggi thing happened and the whole international pressure came down on Saudi Arabia, now we're talking serious peace talks in Yemen. International pressure works, people. The more you talk about, the more you share articles like this, the more you talk about it, the more you tell your friends or tweet about it. These things work because when your politicians in United States, in UK, in France, when they see something is trending, they're like, oh, these are people that might vote for me. They care about this, and they put the pressure on the countries if you start talking about it. Sorry, go on, Jim.
No, I don't know. I kind of think there's a little bit of hypocrisy there. Because China's been a totalitarian government for thousands of years. I mean, they have always, and for the longest time, they have had state implemented atheism and have enforced it. In fact, we've actually reported about them closing down Protestant churches, Christian churches that weren't registered with the government. And I didn't really have a problem with that because they have laws, and they live in China. They agree to China's laws, and I mean, if we would have to crack down on the entire totalitarian regime of China, and it's not just about these Muslims. It would have to be about the Christian churches as
we
well.
don't have no. This is I think this is the wrong way of looking at it, because every time there's a problem, you could look at it as part of a bigger problem, and that bigger problem becomes such a big problem that that it becomes so difficult to deal with it. Well, no, this is a yes, this is a problem that is part of a bigger problem, but we could deal with different problems separately. You know what I mean?
I'm upset about the violation of human rights aspect of this. I'm upset about the way that they're being treated, but I'm not upset about them enforcing their state mandated atheism.
No, I am upset about that. What the hell? You can't mandate atheism.
You can't mandate that somebody doesn't believe in a God, but I think that you can do what they're doing and force registration of churches and not allow just anybody to have a church. I believe that if they want to regulate religion, then they should.
There are two different topics. I'm against both of them. First of all, this is putting people in camp and actually discriminating against them specifically based on who they are and what they believe in. Okay,
and I disagree with that.
Yeah, and this is a huge human rights violation. The lesser violation, which is still a violation. I agree churches maybe should register, but what they freedom of speech. I mean, yeah, China is way. I mean, I'm fight for freedom of speech wherever by any government, and people are gonna say, oh, this is their laws. They get to have their own laws. Well, yeah, they get to have their own laws, and I get to tell them that your laws are fucking stupid and your laws suck. If you tell people this is not gonna. None of these people. This is how you fight Islam, China? You think these people you gonna go home and say like, hey, I guess it's not popular to be a Muslim. I'm gonna not be a Muslim anymore. This is
how you create terrorists.
This is the no, and I disagree with the state telling people what they can teach and what they cannot teach in their own churches or in their own mosques. That's and by the way, I just want to also be like. Say something. As much as the regressive leftists as much as we will blame them for not covering this and being fucking hypocrites, and again, not all left, okay? I'm talking about regressive leftists. The problem with the alt-right, and again, not all people on the right, the actual far-right people, is even worse, because I'm pretty sure, I'm almost sure that once I scroll down and look at the comments under this Facebook post, you're going to see a whole bunch of people saying, good job, China. And this is going to be from atheists within our own community, which I'm going to call out. I'm going to tell them that they're supporting human rights violation. This is the difference between those of us that understand that we're fighting an idea and the rest of us that are fucking bigots. Well, let me actually take a look. Let's see what the top comment is. Let's see if we can go.
But we're not just fighting ideology though, because in this instance, there are people whose beliefs are reflective of that ideology that have real world implications, not just mental or psychological implications. We have people that are blowing up buildings, that are detonating themselves, that are stabbing people, that are running people over. So I mean, it's not just the doctrine. So I mean, I really think that at some point you have to regulate religion and what people believe, because belief evolves into real world actions.
Okay, see, first, so here's the Facebook comments, okay? The top comment, okay? Kamal Limba, I think this is from India. He's saying, extreme cults need extreme measures to deal with. It's good that China realizes Islam not as a religion, but a law. But at a law and order problem and threat to its culture and people. Every sane person, irrespective of race, should support these measures. Okay, I have so much to say to this. This could be a 1 hour episode just talking about what Kamal has said. Okay, first of all, yes, extreme cults need extreme measures. And yeah, I agree that Islam is an extreme cult. Okay, so far so good. To deal with this, it's good that China realizes Islam is not a religion, but a law and order problem. First of all, Islam is a religion. Just because it's a political religion, it doesn't make it not a religion. Okay, China realizes that Islam is a problem, but it's not dealing with it in a humane way. Yes, Islam is a problem. Islam is a threat to its not to its culture. Islam is a threat to the whole fucking planet. Okay, but this is not how you fight. You don't turn it when you're fighting monsters. Don't turn into a fucking monster. Okay, this is. The way you fight ideologies is to convince people out of it. I really don't understand what other way you have. Sorry. What other way you could possibly have to fight an ideology? What do you think is going to happen? You're just gonna you're just gonna make a whole bunch of people miserable, and in the process, the idea is gonna stay. How are you convincing these people out of their ideology by putting them in fucking camps?
Not only that, but you have children witnessing their mother and father being drug off, or in some cases just one parent being drugged off and then never seeing them again, and they grow up with this idea, this perspective, this perception of China and China's government, and that they turn into some vindictive person, and they embrace the ideology of Islam even more and turn into extremists. And I mean, we see that happening in Yemen. We saw that happen in Iraq. We saw it happen in Afghanistan. It's happening today all over the world.
Okay, look at China. Look at what we're doing. Okay, look at the ex-Muslim movement. Okay, I'm an ex-Muslim. There are many ex-Muslims. Ex-Muslims are growing. They're growing faster than ever before. Okay, 25% of Muslims in the United States are leaving Islam because we can reach them. If we can reach other Muslims, we can make them turn into ex-Muslim faster than it has ever happened before. Look at the Enlightenment movement in Europe. Do you think that Christianity became as weak as it became now because people went into camps? You think what I can tell you is that they're going to have the least number of ex-Muslims within these camps ever, because none of these people are going to decide that they're going to want to defend their own community. They want to stick to their community that is being prosecuted, and they're going to think that they need to embrace Islam and defend Islam because their community, they think now if you're born in this camp, you think like leaving Islam is betraying the community that is already being wronged and prosecuted. You're not going to leave Islam if you're in that situation. David is saying 800,000 down, 900 million 200,000 to go. Okay, David, you are a monster. Okay, you are a monster, and I'm glad that you're not in charge of any government or anything. And I wouldn't want to live under anyways. Jeremiah is saying, well, it's a start. Again, these are the 3 top comments so far. I'm trying to read until we get to somebody that has some decency and some humanity in them. This is these are atheist people. This is again proof that atheism doesn't always lead to humanism. Okay, Vincent is saying, keep up the good work, China. Fucking hell. Okay, so finally, I think this is, let's see, Nicole, don't disappoint. It's amazing how many people here support putting individuals into camps and exterminating an entire group of people. Hitler comes into mind here. Again, a lot of people say, oh, Godwin's law. First of all, Godwin law is a law. It's not a fallacy. And if anything can be compared to what they did during Nazi Germany, this comes pretty much close. I don't mind comparing things to Nazi Germany, especially when you're actually putting people in fucking camps. Manuel is saying, as expected, people here support the idea. Funny thing, they are the ones who claim to be moral superior. Okay, so finally getting to some comments. Nicole also said that's not how you change people. This is how you create enemies. This is how you create enemies, and this is how you also turn into a monster worse than the one that you were trying to defeat. Let's see what the YouTube live chat. There's so many comments in YouTube live chat that we got tagged. By the way, people on Facebook, if you want me to read your comments, please tag Atheist Republic. I will read those as well. The Facebook live chat people. So let me just see. B just saying, are there children in these camps, prisons? Do you know, Jim? I don't know. Are there?
I'm sorry, there what?
Are there any children in these camps?
Yes, there have been reported that there are children in these camps.
Fucking hell. Somebody 11 is saying generally modified skeptic is a skeptical atheist. Okay, well, yeah, we're gonna actually have him on secular jihadists, but let's focus on the news. Yeah, and I agree. That's a great channel. Moscow saying, I agree with you that we should be pro-humanity and anti-inhuman. Sadly, we live in a world where politics trumps human needs. Most things, as much as we do live in an age, this has always been the case. This is not something new in human history. In fact, compared to before, things are getting better. I hope these comments that we see on the Facebook live chat, I hope 10 years people will look at this and with disgust. I hope that at some point when we post something like this, comments like this don't become this popular. Uday is saying, for whatever reason, I rarely see international media being as hostile towards China as they are towards any other country that I know. Again, yeah, and especially when it comes from the Muslim community, the Muslim community has failed the other Muslims as well when it comes to what's happening in China, and because traditionally they haven't gotten used to. I'm pretty sure they're going to catch up on this at some point, because as soon as they manage to, atheism is going to become a major threat to Islam. The thing is that when it comes to protecting people, it's more about serving a narrative rather than actually protecting humans. And I think more Muslims are going to start talking about China when they see atheism as a threat more and more, and they're going to tie China's policies against Muslim as to what atheism can do. And basically, they will start talking about it more, but it wouldn't be about protecting their fellow Muslims. It would be about making a narrative against atheism, and that's when
it's already started.
It's already started, but it's going to pick up.
It's already started. Oh yeah.
Okay, Manaj is saying Islam is a special kind of psychological disorder. I don't know. Are you a mental expert, Manaj, that you're saying that? China is just trying to cure it. That's not how you, well, again, now I know that you're not a mental expert because that's not a cure. I don't think anybody should have any problem. You're wrong. This is not how you convince people out of Islam. I already responded to that. Something 11D11 is saying, I'm one of those leftists, and it's frustrating because people are always trying to get me to take sides. Well, I mean, I'm not talking about all the, I hope it didn't come across as me blaming all of the left or all of the right. I was talking about the regressive left and the alt-right. We have good people on both the left and the right. It's just but we also have crazies on all sides. Uday is saying, do you know YouTube, Google, etc. are pretty much non-existent in China? They have their own social media platforms. Yes, they're creating a very effective bubble. Suraya is saying, I think nobody gives value to Muslims nowadays. This is not about, no, because even after being in a camp, Muslims don't stop being extremist Muslim. China has always... No, this is not about... This is about Muslims themselves, Suraya, are not talking about. This is because this doesn't play into anyone's narrative. This is why people are not talking about it. Jim?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah. No, this is not because this is people are not talking. This is not the right kind of Muslims. This is kind of like the people in Yemen that people didn't talk about for forever until Khashoggi died, because they're poor, they don't have oil, and they don't matter to other Muslims either. That's why they're not. If they were the right kind of Muslims, if they were Palestinian Muslims, then people would be talking about it. Non-atheists also post on these pages. No, okay, yes, but not. You're right. These not all of these people are atheists, but most of them are. Like most of them are. This is. I'm not denying that there's something. And these are anti-Islam atheists. This is not. If you're trying to say that because don't try to protect the atheists by saying like, oh, these are probably not atheists. We know the vast majority of the people that follow Atheist Republic are atheists. But go on.
Yeah.
No, go.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Mars is saying, I'm concerned that this may give people more ammo to criticize atheist governments too. China isn't doing anyone a favor with their methods. That's fine. Criticize atheist governments. We shouldn't be defending atheist governments because they're atheists. In fact, atheist governments should be criticized by us.
Yeah.
You know, humanist atheists.
Well, I mean,
we don't mind to call bullshit on atheists or atheist governments or whatever. This is an atheist government, but it's not a secular government, right? Because they're making laws against people's beliefs. So just because you're an atheist government, it doesn't make you a secular government. And just because we are atheists, but we are more than atheists, we're also secular. We're also humanists. This is what we try to be at Atheist Republic, and we're failing at it, given by the comments in our community. But this is what we're trying to be. And atheism is not the only thing that defines us. Our secularism, our humanism is also what defines them. And this is not secular. And it's not humanist. Uday is saying China should spare the Muslims but go after Islam, yeah, or any other religion called, yeah, the support. I mean, we could argue about whether, yeah.
I think that this probably started out with some good intentions in that they were responding to the terrorist attacks that came from within these small ethnic communities. And it evolved into a paranoia of sort, much like the Americans with the Japanese in the 1940s, or the Americans with the Middle Easterners in the early 2000s. It's a response. And in that response, we create this generalization, this blanket that we use to cover up an entire community. So I believe that's what this entire thing evolved from, was trying to discover these cells.
And this is not a theory. This is a hypothesis. I think China was happy with the terrorist attacks because now it has an excuse to go over. The terrorist attacks by the Muslims are an opportunity, were by China an opportunity to control groups, because China in general, whether there is a terrorist attack or not terrorist attack, will be afraid of any organized groups that could challenge the government, right? But when there's a terrorist attack, now it has a narrative that we're fighting terrorists. Rather than like we're just dismantling any kind of organized group. And this is any kind of organized group, whether it's under religion or non-religion. China wants to be the only organized authority.
And they're estimating that there are as many as 1,200 of these camps.
Fucking hell. Renzo is saying people are ranked based on their trustworthiness. Officials monitor families by living at home with them. But that's fucking crazy. This is like a Black Mirror episode that was on there. It was, yeah. Daniel is saying there is little proof that there is Islamic extremists in China.
That's not true at all.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked into that, but
I wouldn't be surprised. That is not true at all.
Yeah. I mean, there's how could there's so many Muslims,
especially in the
extremes, yeah.
I believe it's called the Xinjiang province is a huge epicenter of these terrorist attacks. Hundreds of people have died in just the past 3 or 4 years.
Okay, and you know, if this causes a reaction, like a terrorist attack reaction, again, this is a hypothesis, not a theory. I bet you China would want that. And it wants to be able to use that attack as like justification to see. It's
possible. It's very possible.
This is what we're fighting against, people. This is why we need the camps. Renzo is okay. Last comment I'm going to read on this before I go to check if there's any comments on Facebook live chat. Renzo is saying in the last 60 years, Xinjiang, is that how you say it? Xinjiang has been has been colonized by Han Chinese. There's a lot of oil and gas in the province, and it's a vital chain in China's trade networks. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Renzo and Pete are encyclopedias in the live chat, in the YouTube live chat. They always have so much amazing information. Yeah, go on.
These small ethnic groups, these small Muslim communities, have also proposed splitting off into their own country and calling it, I believe, like Eastern Turkestan, and they want to create their own Muslim-ran country as part of China. So that's also has played into this.
Right, and then again, people are going to mention these examples and say like, "Oh, do you want China not to react to this?" We're not saying China shouldn't react to this. We're saying that this is the wrong type of reaction, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's saying that China shouldn't defend itself or shouldn't try to maintain its integrity of its borders, or anybody that wants to like start its own government. Like, we're not saying that these things shouldn't be addressed. We think this is the shittiest way to respond to it. Yeah, Facebook live chat, I'm not saying anything that tagged Atheist Republic, so I think we've spent enough time on this news. Let's go to the next one.
2 nuns stole $500,000 from a Catholic school to gamble in Vegas. Sisters Mary Margaret Kreuper and Lana Chang stole $500,000 from a Catholic school where they work so they could gamble in casinos. The nuns have been telling parents that the school was having budget concerns. The auditors have been able to trace in 6 years of bank records that the nuns were involved in the personal use of a substantial amount of school funds. Both nuns had retired earlier this year and have expressed remorse. The church and archdiocese are not pursuing criminal charges.
Wait, what? Why not?
They conducted their own internal investigation. And then they reported it to local authorities. Local authorities asked them if they wanted to file charges, and like anything else, the Catholic Church does, they value they value their own clergy over enforcing the law.
So they're gonna get away with so they stole money and they're gonna get away with it?
Well, of course, because if they allowed local authorities to pursue charges, then that would publicize this more than it already is, and it would look bad on the Catholic Church just to have another legal case against them.
Did they lose all the money, or did they win?
Well, they're nuns, so obviously they had God on their side. What do you think, Armin?
That they lost?
So apparently they've been doing this over the past 6 years, and this is just, they've only gone back 6 years. And so far,
and during 6 years, they didn't think like, okay, I'm stealing from a school,
right?
Like, not just
right.
a Catholic organization, from a school, and they never during like, okay, so if you make one mistake, you could be like, oh, I made a mistake, lapse of judgment. Oh, I'm so sorry, this is bad. For 6 years, they were doing this, and for 6 years they didn't think that they're doing something. They're stealing from kids. They're right,
and that's just what they can find. That doesn't include cash transactions. That doesn't include anything before these 6 years that they've investigated. So I mean, we're talking just what we know of, upwards of $500,000. So that's a good chunk of change.
I really want to like spend 2 minutes in their mind to think like, how does this work? Like they never feel guilty about like, hey, I'm a Catholic. This is a Catholic school. They're teaching children. I'm stealing from it. I'm not even spending it on a noble cause. I'm gambling the money. I'm stealing from kids to gamble. Like are they trying to like cover all the sins? Like, what is this? I don't understand. Like, how do they not feel guilty? Like, they're Catholic? Aren't they supposed to feel? This is what happens. See, okay, here's the hypothesis, right? This is why they don't feel guilty. Actually, I was going to say the Catholic, they should feel guilty. No, Christianity gives you a license to sin. Because all you have to do is be like, hey, God, I'm so sorry. Jesus, Lord, forgive me.
No, not in Catholicism. In Catholicism, you do not directly talk to Jesus or God. You talk to the priest. If you want to be absolved of your sins, you admit your sins to the priest. So either these nuns admitted that they stole this money to their priest, or they didn't, and they haven't been forgiven of their sins.
Here's what you do. I know you have to, if you're Catholic, it's not just automatically, you can't just go directly to Jesus. You have to talk to a priest. But what you can do is like Make all wait 6 years, try your luck, make all the money, and then once you won everything and everything is good, or maybe you lost, then you go and you don't tell the priest when you have the money and then you have to give it back. You go tell the priest when shit hits the fan. But I don't think you don't have to.
But then you have all the guilt, and that doesn't help the guilt.
No, you have to tell the. You don't. It doesn't say that you have to tell the priest. I mean, every single week. I mean, I guess you have to, but even if you miss
every
it,
single time you go to confession, you have to confess all of the sins since your last confession. Because when
but if you miss the confessions, when you could also ask forgiveness for missing the confessions.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think that works if you're a nun. I'm pretty sure the priest is like, "Hey, you need to hop in my box."
No. I mean, you can go into the box. You can go into the box, and just everything will be cleaned. This is again Christianity. More
but
than
you have to
is
tell
a
the
license
priest
to sin.
because he says, "What are your sins since, or have you sinned since your last confession?" And you have to absolve yourself of all the sins since your last confession, or it doesn't work.
You know what I would do if I were these nuns? I would say that I got a vision from
Not
God.
steal $500,000 from a school.
No, after I got caught, I would say.
Oh, after you got caught, okay.
I would say that I got a vision from God that He had a mission for this money, and I was supposed to go gamble, and I was gonna win, and was gonna bring it back to the school or to put it to whatever God planned it to do. This was a mission from God. Hey, why not? Prove me wrong. I'm a nun. Right,
but you didn't win, so that's kind of like, you know.
So God maybe had a plan for that money. The person that had won, we lost the money, but the person that had won the money, God wanted them to win that money. God knows best. He had a plan for that money, and that's why we lost it. Okay, see?
That's right.
I know how to bullshit. Yeah. Let me see.
It's not for us to understand. Well, it's God's will.
It's God's will. Burndy, as the top comment is saying, part of God's plan. Oh, see, top comment, part of God's plan, and it wasn't that much since it was untaxed. If they didn't win, God's plan. Oh wait, if they did win, would they have to pay tax in that? Because it's church money. I don't know how to tax. If they if they didn't win, God's plan. If they did, God's plan. Oh yeah, so no punishment necessary. Thoughts and prayers to the school.
Were they wearing their habit? Were they dressed like nuns when they went to gamble? Can you imagine just a nun sitting there smoking, sipping on a Bloody Mary, just?
Justin is saying Sisters of Sin City. Oh, that's good. Oh yeah, this should be a movie.
That'd be a great mini-series.
Yeah, this should be a movie. Could be an awesome Netflix movie. That's what Justin is saying. Karim is saying why there's so much corruption in the Catholic Church. On all kinds of issues and levels, they can't be preaching the word of God. Well, I mean, this is not a statistical analysis. I'm pretty sure there is a lot of corruption, but we have to have a control. I don't know, but if there is more corruption in religious organizations than non-religious organizations, it's because I think, again, this is not a theory; it's a hypothesis. It's because you have a license to sin and then ask God for forgiveness. Again, Islam in many ways is more dangerous than Christianity, but in this specific situation, Christianity is worse because when it comes to having a license to sin, because everything can be forgiven except apparently doubting the Holy Spirit, which but everything can be forgiven even if the people you have wronged don't forgive you. In Islam, it's a little bit different, and this is the only thing about Islam that makes a tiny little bit more sense, even though Islam is bullshit. In Islam, if the person you have wronged doesn't forgive you, God can't forgive you. I mean, God can, but won't. In Christianity, you can just bypass it. I could just punch you in the face and ask
That's really
God.
shitty, though. That's really shitty, because somebody can just hang that over your head and be like, I'm not going to forgive you until you do all of my dishes for a year and cook me dinner and...
Well, I mean, it's better than being forgiven for wronging people.
Yeah.
But just going to God. You could rape somebody and then go ask God for forgiveness in Christianity, and God, if God forgives you, it doesn't matter if your victim doesn't forgive you. That's Christianity. In Islam, there's two types of sins: sins against God, sins against man. If sins against God is like if you miss your prayer or if you don't fast. And if you sin against God, God can forgive you without without anybody else forgiving you. But if you sin against man, then the person that you've wronged has to forgive you for God to forgive you. I think that, I mean, it's all nonsense, but it's a little bit more fair, I think. But go on, sorry.
Right. Well, one thing that I noticed with Christians though is when somebody's put on death row or whatever for murdering somebody or raping and killing somebody, if the family is Christian, I've noticed that in fact most of the times the family will forgive them because they feel that that's the Christian thing to do, is to forgive those who trespass against us.
Yeah, no,
it's it's like it's
that's two different things. In
Christianity, you can't be forgiven of your sins unless you forgive people who have wronged you.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're told to forgive everything and everybody, which is also ridiculous. But you also, if you wrong somebody, you're also forgiven even if they don't forgive you, which is nonsense. Anyways, Joe is saying how much money you have left. None. Okay, that's funny. At least they didn't molest kids. That was from Joe. Let's look at the YouTube live chat. Okay, so Danielle is saying this is like a good plot for Sister Act 3. Soraya,
back again, another habit.
Soraya saying exactly. Even YouTuber feels guilty with patrons who misses an episode. An episode to air his show. I'm not sure what's that referring to, but let me see if people on Facebook, if you want me to read your comments, make sure you mention Atheist Republic. Nothing on Facebook. Let's go to, wait, hold on, let me find where we are. Okay, let's go to the next news.
Google hosts Sharia law app enabling Muslims to report blasphemy and heresy to the police. The latest version of Smart Packham, an app that allows Muslims in Jakarta, the capital of the largest Muslim country on earth, to report violations of Sharia law, such as blasphemy and even heresy, has been approved by the Google Play Store. Using this application, the users can report people who practice unrecognized religions or unorthodox interpretations of Indonesia's 6 officially recognized faiths: Buddhism, Confucianism, Hinduism, Islam, Protestant Christianity, and Roman Catholic Christianity. The original version of the app came out on November 25th of this year. It was created by the Jakarta Prosecutor's Office, which would help educate the public and modernize the reporting process. The app has a 1.2 out of 5-star rating.
Okay, how many downloads? Do you know?
It has millions of downloads.
What the fuck?
This app, I actually downloaded it myself. You can get a list of the laws, the religious laws for each religion, what they consider to be blasphemy or heresy. It outlines what they consider blasphemous, and they can report people through the app directly to the police. Just put in their name, what they did, photos. You can, I mean, it's really sad.
Do you know who made that?
I don't know who made the app, but it's called Smart Packham, and the app's been around for a while. But this is the newest version. Apparently, is the version that allows people to report people.
Okay. So first of all, Google doesn't have that much barriers for you to put up an app. I mean, I know people want to now blame Google, but we should blame Google if they don't take it down, because Google is not like the Google Play Store is not like the iTunes App Store. It has to go through a lot of reviews and stuff. It's very easy to get your app on Google. So, I mean, I'm not gonna it's not like Google approved this. But they should really seriously take this step.
They did approve it, but they don't have a vetting process.
Yeah, they don't have a vetting process, but this shouldn't survive a fucking day. Like, how, is it still on?
Right. Yes, it's still
okay,
on.
So fuck you, Google, for not taking it down. Okay, I'm willing to accept, because you don't have a vetting process, that this slipped through. But why is it still up there? Like, how the hell? How did they not have? How have they not taken this down yet?
Reading through the reviews, everybody is pissed off about this. That's why it has a 1.2 out of 5-star rating.
Well, don't just review it, report it as well.
Yes,
I'm gonna report it.
I did. I did report it, and I'm sure that other people have reported it as well.
This is insane. So this is, by the way, this is again Indonesia, people. This is Indonesia, the moderate Islamic country that people say like, oh, look, Islam doesn't have to be that bad. Look, Indonesia. Look at Malaysia. Look at the fuck what's happening in Indonesia. This is not just the Islamic parts of Indonesia, the very extreme parts of Indonesia. This is in all of Indonesia. Okay, this is what in all of Indonesia, not just the Sharia law parts that people keep mentioning. In all of Indonesia. If you don't have one of the six, right? 6 or 7? 6 official religions.
Yes, 6.
6 official religions. You are fucked. What's the punishment if you're not one of these religions? Like, you have to pick one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is in Indonesia. Remember, this is where people are killed because of their unorthodox beliefs, or what they consider to be unorthodox. So it really depends on the crime, whether it's blasphemy or heresy. But for many of these crimes, death is the ultimate penalty.
No, in Indonesia, death penalty? Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Death penalty. Let's see. Article.
Can somebody correct us in the live chat? Okay, so can you report, like, if somebody is not blaspheming against religion or Islam in Indonesia and just says that, hey, I'm an atheist, is that against the law? Of course, it is against the law. But does this app make you report them, or is this app just for people that are blaspheming? Like, if you're an atheist and you find out somebody's an atheist, but they're not like shitting on religion like we do every week,
you can report them.
You can still report them. What the hell?
Yes.
Oh my god, this app. This is fucking insane. Get your shit together, Indonesia. We know one thing. We as an atheist community, when it comes to atheist activism, we all have failed Indonesia, because there's a lot of atheist activists in Indonesia that we haven't yet managed to reach to. And one of the main reasons for that is because English apparently is not that common in Indonesia, and we need to get like our translation projects going, so somehow we could connect atheist activists in Indonesia with the rest of the world, because this is the largest Islamic country in the whole world. This is more, a lot of people don't understand that the largest Islamic country is not even in the Middle East. It's in Indonesia, okay? And they need our help. Like, it's amazing because they have a growing atheist community in Indonesia, and these people are so separate from the rest of the atheist community. Most of these people have never heard of, like, most of the people that at least I meet in Indonesia that are atheists have no idea who Richard Dawkins is, have no idea who Sam Harris is. I'm not saying you need to always know who these people are. I'm just saying it's amazing how it's a movement that has grown so separately from the rest of us, and we need to somehow figure out how we could work with them and shine a light on them without actually putting them in danger, because it's dangerous to be an atheist. And again, this is supposed to be one of the most tolerant, moderate Islamic country in the world. And again, when people tell you that, just remember, give them these examples and tell them that this is the best that you could get. An Islamic country, the most tolerant that you could get is Indonesia or Malaysia. In Malaysia, where our council members were hunted down by the government, and in Indonesia, where if you don't pick an official religion, you're in trouble with the law. But go on, sorry.
I need to correct what I said earlier. they had suggested or proposed a law that would ultimately end in the death penalty, but right now the maximum penalty for blasphemy is 5 years
Yeah,
imprisonment. So
Indonesia doesn't. Yeah,
that
yeah.
has not been passed.
Okay, so wait, they're trying to pass it.
They have in the past, but nobody's currently trying to pass it.
Okay, so yeah, Indonesia doesn't have a death penalty for
Right.
they have 5 years of prison for, yeah. I remember
Right.
many years ago somebody had liked a post on Facebook, like that got him 7 years, I think, in prison in Indonesia, but they don't have the death penalty, which,
Well,
oh, great job! Like, don't congratulate them for that, but they still have thought crimes. Mars is saying, by the way, elegant. Wow, I know you have questions, but we're gonna keep it to the question that is about the news that we're talking about. Mars is saying we can retweet this on Twitter and start up a shitstorm against Google to get them to remove it. Yeah, please do that and tag us so we could do that as well. All right, I think this. Oh, let me look at the top comments on Facebook. The top comment is by Ali Faraz. He's saying, "All right, Google, here's your first case of blasphemy. I say Islam support pedophilia. Report me." Yeah, this is more of a. It's not like Google is enforcing blasphemy law. Google is in trouble because I think Google is just not removing this. I'm not gonna say like, yeah. Corey is saying finds Google blasphemous. Google. Okay. So Corey is trying to come up with a loophole by finding Google blasphemous. Okay, people on the podcast, you can't see what Corey's. Anyways, next comment. Will is saying Google will do anything for a buck. No, I think this is more of them not paying attention rather than them actually trying to make money off of an app. So that's not the case. Paul is saying because unlike Apple, they don't approve every app in the Play Store. Don't make it out to be an implicit approval. Yes, that's what you said. We're not blaming it for we know Google is different from Apple. We're just wondering why it hasn't been removed yet. Google should be ashamed. Okay. No, so yeah, some people I think are in the Facebook comment section are blaming us for making it seem like Google made a mistake by approving this, given that they have no vetting problem. No, we're blaming them for not removing it after this being pointed out. This being covered in many places on articles.
And the reporting feature has been up since the 27th of last month. So we're talking about almost a full month of this being up and a full month of people speaking out against this, and they haven't done anything. So this isn't like, it's been up for a day and people are bitching about it.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point of having a report option if you're not going to remove something as obvious as this?
Especially something with a 1.2 star rating.
No, forget the star rating. This is a human rights violation. It's not just a shitty app. It should be removed. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I'm sure if there was a case.
That's what I'm saying, though. Is that all the negative ratings should bring it to their attention?
The number of reports should bring it to their attention because people dislike apps. But okay, but here's another hypothesis. And again, this is not a theory. This is a hypothesis. I have to make it because people are always like, "Where's your evidence?" Again, this is just a guess. Educated guess, not a theory. So I think if this was an app, let's say if it was a KKK app, or a racist app, or that was more in line with Google's leftist sensitive things that they find problematic, something that should genuinely be removed from Google Play. If let's say if there was an app to I don't know, something extremely racist, right? I'm pretty sure this wouldn't, not pretty sure, almost sure that this wouldn't pass like a day or two after it got vetted. It would be removed, right? So it's just a bias against like protecting some minorities that you're politically sensitive about, and not protecting other minorities like blasphemers or atheists or non-religious people because you're not sensitive about, because this is not about protecting minorities. This is about your own political agenda and being in line with whatever virtues that your political organization is trying to support. Anyways, I don't know if that made sense. Let me see if there's anything else in the Facebook live chat. Nobody has tagged Atheist Republic. There's just a lot of discussions between themselves. Sorry if I miss anything. There's too much for me to note. If I miss anything, it's because there's a lot. But let's go to the next news.
A Virginia district was right to fire a teacher who refused to respect a trans student. A French teacher, Peter Vlaming, was fired because he refused to call a transgender freshman with the pronouns he and him. He said that his Christian faith prohibited him from treating the student with respect and dignity. Vlaming was told by the superintendent to call the student by the right pronouns, but he refused. The board of the school later released a statement in defense of their action, saying they do not tolerate discrimination in any form. And I wholeheartedly agree with this. He had been warned many times about it by saying she and her and using the pronouns that she obviously did not, or that he obviously did not want him to use. Which is just really absurd to me, and the fact that he is the one to mention his Christian faith and not the school board is very revealing. Nobody accused him of being transphobic because of his religion. He came right out and said that he is transphobic because of his religion. So I mean, that's not something that we have to speculate on.
Devil's advocate. He actually did refer. Wait, what? So the transgender went from, is it a he or a she? What is it? What is it? Yeah, I don't know how to say. The person that we're talking about, is it a him or a her?
He
okay.
was
So him. So this Fleming guy, which is the teacher, right? Is it a teacher?
Yes.
Okay. So this Fleming guy did actually did actually refer to him by his new name.
By his preferred name, yes.
Yeah, so he went as far as accepting the new name, and he also went as far as accepting that to use not him, but a gender neutral pronoun.
No. He didn't say that he was going to use gender neutral. He said that he wasn't going to use any pronouns to refer to him.
So he said. So basically, he said he's not going to, because this transgender person doesn't want to be called she or her, so he's not going to use she or her. He's just going to refuse to use, like, he's just going to not use pronouns. Don't you think that's enough of? I mean, we disagree with him. Like, I would refer to him as and he.
Sure.
How much more do we expect from this guy? Like, he's saying, like, look, I'm uncomfortable using him. I'm just gonna always use his name, his new name, and not use pronouns at all. Huh?
That would be fine. Of course, in my opinion, it wouldn't make him any less of an asshole, but that would be fine, because that's the school board did agree to that. But he continued to use the wrong pronouns instead of not using any pronouns like he said that he would, like whatever that would help. He still continued to use the wrong pronouns. So that is why he was fired. It was because he violated his own agreement with the school board, the compromise that they had, if you want to call that a compromise. But I have a friend named Robert. He wants me to call him Bob. I call him Bob. It's not a big deal. Nobody makes a fuss out of it. But for some reason, when a transgender person wants to be called by a different name or by a different pronoun, people lose their mind.
And but those are two different topics. One topic is whether you're being a decent person or not, and another topic is if this is a fireable offense. I mean,
yes, I believe it is, because you are disrespecting students. If the teacher was disrespecting the student in any other way, I would expect that they be given a warning. And if after that warning they continued with the actions, then they should be fired.
If a student is disrespecting the students, they should be fired. I mean, professors disrespect their
Yes,
students because
yes,
for many things.
especially if, oh yeah, we all know tenured professors that get away with a lot of crap because they're tenured. That doesn't make their actions correct, but if a teacher is not tenured and they don't rely on the teacher to be there, if the teacher is, I mean, in my opinion, whether the teacher is replaceable or not, it's important for the teacher to respect the students. How are you going to expect anybody to learn what you are teaching them if you disrespect them in the process?
Um, I don't know. So for me, the main thing that might come close to fireable is that he mentioned that he himself mentioned that he's using religious reasons in school on how he treats the students. Like, yeah, you need to keep your religion out
Religious or
of.
not, he's allowing his personal beliefs to affect how he teaches children
I
or how
mean,
he interacts with
I mean,
children.
okay, but would you, if he went as far as like calling him by his new name and also never use the pronoun because he didn't want to use the word he or him, should he be able to stay?
That is what the school board agreed on, and
Okay.
I mean, in my opinion, I don't think it makes him any better of a person. But if the school board collectively agreed on that, and it's not disrespecting the student in any way, he is just omitting pronouns from interactions with that particular student. So in my opinion, there is no disrespect there. In fact, it is quite respectful in my opinion for somebody to suppress their own bigotry.
Okay,
Um,
but I don't know if this person is an asshole the way you say, because if
Oh,
if his
I do.
okay, well, yeah, I know, that's why I'm trying to, because if you're deluded, right? If you have religious reasons to do shitty things, you might not, it might be because of the delusion that you're doing. It might not be because you're being you're trying to be a dick. Is maybe it's because you think religiously this is the right thing to do. And again, this is how religion sometimes makes good people do shitty things. Like, I wouldn't go as far
I
as
don't.
knowing that this guy is an asshole, right? This guy might even think like, hey, if I didn't have religious reasons, I wouldn't mind calling people whatever pronouns they want to.
Of
Uh,
course
they,
of course he's an asshole. You have many Christians, many Christians who have no problem with calling a transgendered person by their preferred name or by their preferred
you,
pronouns.
Jim, how can you
Um,
read people's minds? Because I can't. I don't know. Just
you
because some
you
Christian,
can't.
no wait,
I'm talking
just
about how
because
somebody
some Christian,
interacts with somebody.
I no, but just because some Christians don't see a contradiction between accepting transgender, rights or whatever, and Christianity, that doesn't mean some Christians don't. This person might genuinely
But
think
but
that. Wait, this person might genuinely think that doing this is against his ideology, and he might think like, hey, I wish I could. Again, I'm not defending his decision. I'm just saying that we can't. Some people are assholes and some people are deluded. They're not always the same, and some people are both. Okay? Sometimes
how
people
many
do.
Christians
Wait,
do you see out there promoting slavery? You don't, because people know that it is wrong, even though that by Christianity guidelines, you can own slaves, especially non-Hebrew slaves, but nobody's doing that. So not
no,
everybody hates homosexuals. Not
but
everybody
people
hates
are
transgender.
also not being right now. People are also not being brainwashed that right now. I mean, they used to be.
Right, right.
No,
But
wait.
it
Let me
is
make a point, Jim. Right now, there is no active brainwashing, even though it is consistent with the Bible that slavery is okay. Right now, there is no active brainwashing that Christianity is pro-slavery, even though the Bible is. But there is active brainwashing that that transgender issues go against Christianity. So there will be
mhm.
more people victims of that brainwashing than people being victims of the brainwashing that slavery is a-okay. So what I'm saying is that I'm not saying this guy is not a prick. I just say I don't know. This guy might be a victim of thinking that this is against his Christian belief, and he might, I don't know, he might be saying like, hey, if this was not against God's law, okay, I'm not defending it, I'm just trying to figure out the source of the problem. It might not be as inherent dickishness. It might be his delusion that is causing this. He might be like, hey, I wouldn't mind calling him or he, whatever he wants, if this wasn't against God law. Again, the reason why I say, this is important, because if you just dismiss all kinds of bad behavior as people being assholes, and people who are nice but are deluded and nice and are doing dickish things because they're deluded, if you just treat them as just shitty people, you're not going to be able to change their mind, or you're not going to be able to get to them. So I say give people benefit of the doubt and assume that they just have a bad ideology that they're basing their conclusions on, and it's because if you just blame it on them being assholes, then there's less hope for you to be able to convince them out of it, because they're just assholes, right? But if you give them the benefit of the doubt that this might be just based on bad opinion or bad information, then there's a way you can deal with that. But go on.
Yeah, but see, in order to accept the ideology, something that isn't in black and white, something that is interpreted very loosely, you have to first have some kind of a preconceived assumption about that particular thing, especially something like
but you're
like
making assumptions. You're trying to come up with a way to make a general rule about a whole group of people. People are different.
What I'm saying, but exactly. But what I'm saying is, like, in order to accept this stuff, you already have to be against it. So you already have to have some kind of a measure to accept this. Because if somebody were to go to another Christian and tell them, hey,
Jim, let me give you an example.
Don't call transgender people by their accepted pronouns. Don't do it.
I have seen Muslim mothers celebrating the day that their son got murdered. Okay, starting a party and cheering, saying that this is the best day of their life because their son got murdered and now he's in heaven and he's in the best part of heaven right now. Do you really think that they have? Before this cancer of Islam got to them, or without the cancer of Islam, they have this thing against their own son, that they want their son to die? Do you think that's something inherent within them, that they're against their son? Like, or is this them actually thinking that this is because of the religion, because of the bullshit that they've been fed to, right? Like, yes, I accept that there's some religious people that are trying to be dicks, and they use religion as a weapon for them being dicks. But there are also people that are not trying to be dicks, but they end up being dicks to people because they're following their religion, right?
And I think this guy is the first one.
You don't know. How could you know? You might be the second one.
It's my hypothesis.
Okay, so you don't. When you say it's your hypothesis, it means you don't know. It's just a guess.
It's a very educated guess. Because you don't see many Christians who are unwilling to call a transgendered person by their preferred pronoun, because there is nothing doctrinal that says be a dick to people that you don't like.
Okay,
especially in Christianity.
Okay, he's a controversial. No, I'm not gonna make it that, because I disagree with it. Okay, no, I'm gonna make it, but I'm also gonna argue against myself. Okay, so some people might say, like, what's the big deal? Okay, for example, here's an example, right? I called, I don't know what, a company, I don't know if it was a phone company or the bank or something, and this guy on the other line told me, ma'am, this is how it's done. He kept on saying ma'am, and he thought I'm a woman, all right? And I don't know, maybe I have a womanly voice. And I never felt like I wanted to correct him, because I was like, I never felt that.
You're not a dick.
No, he thought I'm a woman, but at no point I felt the need to correct him, because it doesn't matter to me, right? And somebody might say, like, what's the big fucking deal if you prefer he or she, somebody refuses, what's the big deal? And here's an argument against myself, the argument that I just made, right? The argument against what I just made is that I'm not being discriminated against based on people confusing whether I'm a man or a woman, right?
People aren't calling you ma'am every day. Every phone call you
No,
make,
even
people
if
aren't
they
calling you
did,
ma'am.
people are not targeting me or my gender as a
Exactly.
target of discrimination, right? The
Absolutely.
thing with people, a lot of people that they think like this pronoun thing, you know, he being she or she being he. I don't know about the other ones. I haven't looked into that. But this just somebody wanting to go from one gender to another gender. They if they say that this is too much, like this is this what people are being too sensitive about it. It's not a big deal. Why do I have to call you by your gender? The reason why this is a big deal is the same reason why like the gay community coming out and telling people that they're gay. People are like, hey, I'm straight. I don't tell people I'm straight. Why do the gay community constantly put the fact that they're gay out there? Well, because their sexual orientation is used as a target against them. Being straight is not used as a target for you to discriminate against a group of people, right? So in the same way that the gay community's sexual orientation is used as a target for them to be discriminated against, the gender in the transgender community is used as a target to discriminate against them. So getting people to accept their gender is a way for them to fight against discrimination against them. The reason why I don't give a shit.
Imagine this. Imagine if you were on that.
Right. Go on.
Imagine if you're on that same phone call and you're talking to them and you say something and they say yes ma'am, and you say, oh, I'm a sir, you know, and kind of laugh it off, and they continue to call you ma'am, and finally you get tired of it and you say, hey, I'm a sir, and they say I'm sorry ma'am, and you say, no, I'm a sir, and then finally when it all comes out, after you sue the company, they say, oh, well, I did it because my religion, my Christianity tells me that I'm not to call them by their preferred pronouns. Would you say that it is their religion doing that, or would you say it's because they're a dick?
I wouldn't know. Okay, I can't read people's minds.
Of course you don't know. But what would you say?
Okay, but let me take your example. Here's the thing. I think if somebody on purpose misgenders me on purpose, right? That shouldn't be an issue, okay? Because gender, I don't suffer gender discrimination, right?
Right.
Even if it's done on purpose, even if somebody is trying to be a dick about it, it shouldn't matter, right? It's misgendering transgender people is used as a weapon against them. Yes. And that's why it should matter. Like you know what I mean? Like,
right? Yeah. I'm not arguing that. I'm just arguing the source of it. Just to say that it's your Christianity that makes you do it is a cop out. It's not the Christianity that makes you do it. It's because you're an asshole.
Yeah, I don't. Well, here's the thing. You came up with a very specific example. I'm just saying we don't know this person. We don't know how his religion is fucking up with his mind. I just rather say I don't know why he's doing. I do think it needs to be addressed. Even when people are being like, even within the atheist community, when people are saying like, "Oh, this is not scientific" or whatever, the way you treat them is not by the way you respond. Is not by just calling them, well, you're being a fucking asshole, right? You just tell them, okay, well, let's look at the science together, right? That's not how you respond to people, I think. You try to, I think
not everybody's willing to look at the science.
Yeah, but you try. I'm just saying you don't just dismiss people as just assholes and just like, unless.
Well, this teacher was obviously educated about it. The teacher was. The teacher.
I'm giving people a benefit of the doubt, Jim. Let me do that, okay? I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt because I'm not willing to give up on people. But I'm just. I mean, even if somebody's being a dick, you can still convince them out of being a dick. Anyways, let's see the top comment on Facebook. William is saying, "Respect my pamper." Those words get confused a lot. What? Lately? I don't get it. I think this is an anti-trans joke. It's flying over my head. Alex is saying, not. No one should be forced to play along with these delusions. Well, I mean, was this a private school or a public school?
Public school.
It's not. I mean,
Public or not, it shouldn't matter.
It should matter. Okay, so first of all, Alex is assuming this is a delusion. A lot of people, when they say, talk about transgender, people saying, there's only two genders. They're confusing two different topics. Even if there's only two genders, having transgender being a real thing doesn't contradict that, because transgender people are transferring from one gender to another. So they, two genders doesn't contradict that. If that's your argument, I don't understand the people that are against this whole gender fluid narrative are also against transgender, thinking that the same thing. But transgender is a real thing. I mean, we have had them for fucking ever. Like, since we have examples of that throughout history. I don't understand why they call it delusion.
There are only two genders because we assigned a binary.
No, let's not get. No, I don't want to. This is
spectrum.
That's a No, okay, let's not get into that. No, let's not get into that because that's what people confuse that with the transgender topic. The transgender topic is not about gender fluid topic. The two gender topic and transgender topic are separate topics. I'm just saying a lot of people confuse these two topics. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I kind of disagree. I think transgendered and gender fluidity go hand in hand. But that's a different argument.
Most transgender people are gender binary. So there's a separate topic.
Because they subscribe to the binary gender system.
Right. Anyways, that's, let's have it. I already had an episode on this on Atheist Republic. Guys, go check it out. But we can have, again, another episode on this as well. John is saying, a teacher who belittles and bullies his students had no place in any school. So John agrees with the decision. Robert is saying, a teacher who won't respect biology shouldn't be a teacher. And he's showing a picture of chromosomes, basically saying, I think, Robert, you're confusing sex and gender. Daniel is saying, so apparently we're policing speech now. That's nice. Again, so this is why I was asking if this was a public school or a private school. I don't know how school policies work. Getting fired from your job for your behavior at work is not necessarily policing your words, because if the government was enforcing this, I wouldn't be supporting a government enforcing gender using the correct pronouns, right? I would be very much against that. And I know, if the government is actually trying, but if you get fired, so for example, the government does not enforce you not using swear words, right? And it shouldn't. But try going to your office tomorrow and swearing at people, and if you get fired because of it, do you think that's against your free speech? Because you getting fired at your job for the words that you use is not against your free speech. If the government enforces you not using swear words, that's against your free speech. Like if you go to jail for it, or if the government makes you pay a fine or something. Again, this becomes a little bit more. I have to think about it, because this is a public school, though, so it is a government organization. Jonathan is saying identity politics is cancer. Identity politics is, if it's misused, is cancer. Not all identity politics is cancer. If your identity is being used against you, then you should use identity politics. The example I give is that if you're living under Nazi Germany and a Jew shows up at your house and says, hey, I'm a Jew, can you hide me in your basement? This person is playing identity politics, and rightfully so. Him being a Jew is a target on his back, and that's why his identity at that point matters. If you land a helicopter under ISIS territory in Syria, and you're trying to get people on the helicopter, Yazidi women probably should get priority in getting into your helicopter than anyone else. So identity politics makes sense if you're saying, hey, my identity is used as a target against me, please help. That's the right way to use identity politics. The wrong way to use identity politics is when you say, hey, this is my identity, so I'm right, or this is my identity, so you should listen. This is my identity, so give me special privileges. That's the wrong way to use identity politics. But the right way is to say, like, hey, people are against me because of my identity, please help. That's the right way to use identity.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with asking for equal privileges and equal rights. There is, however, asking for extra privileges or extra rights that others don't have. But I think that it's important that we point out that that up until recently there was only he and him and she and her and them and they, and with people struggling to find a label that fits them, they're going to inevitably create their own labels. But that's happened for as long as history can remember, or that as long as history's existed. Right. So I mean, even if you don't assign your own labels, society will impose those labels upon you. So I think it's great that people are accepting and identifying their own communities and identifying their own labels. And I think it's important that they use those labels, that they impose them upon society. Now, yes,
don't impose. What do you mean?
No, I'm okay. Well, to implement, to start using them regularly. But in a school setting, especially in this setting, respect is everything. Whether it was a transgendered student or not, it could have been a straight male for all I care, and he could be referring to him as her or she repeatedly when asked not to. And
you mean a cis male, not a straight male, because you're confusing gender and sexual orientation. Okay, you mean a cis?
Well,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get your point.
Okay, yeah. Well, okay, so somebody who identifies as a male, calling him she or her, right, repeatedly when asked not to, it's disrespect, and I think that out of our teachers, it's very important that we demand respect.
Do you think this guy would get fired? I guess he would if he went out to a cis person and misgendered them as well.
If he was warned not to, and repeatedly did so, yes.
I guess okay. So if the people that are against this, would they be so? If somebody that is a cisgendered male or cisgender female, and the professor on purpose misgendered them, and the school gave them a warning, and they didn't listen, and they got fired. Yeah, I guess, that would be fair. Jack is saying refusing to use pronouns would only be acceptable if he did that to every student. Being reminded that your gender is not accepted by your teacher is a horrible daily school life. Yep.
I don't really agree with that. I mean, yes, you will inevitably have to use pronouns, but if honestly, if somebody stopped using pronouns to me, I wouldn't necessarily recognize it. Now, I don't know what it's like to be a transgendered person, so I don't know how.
Yeah, I say, as a cis person,
I don't know how much pronouns would stand out to a transgender person, but I know myself that if somebody just didn't use pronouns in everyday speech towards me, I personally wouldn't notice it.
because our gender is not being used against us. So I don't think we wouldn't be as
why I had to make that
unless you have some problems with your some masculinity issues, like a man, like stuff like that, like. I guess a lot of men do, so I guess most men would be offended if you call them a woman. Okay, Jack, I already read that. Did I read the whole thing? I did. And Atheist is saying they got a warning, they refused, then they were fired, then they were fired. So yeah, it makes it more fair because it's not like they just got fired on the spot. He did get a warning. Jack is saying, imagine if a teacher refused to acknowledge students as equals because they wear glasses, since they're doing something that messes with God's plan. Bad eyesight. I mean, I think even if without this whole transgender thing, if the teacher said, he's doing something based on his religion is cool. I think, like, yeah, no, that alone should get a warning. But again, these other examples that has nothing to do with a group of people that are being discriminated against, I don't think they are as. I see the point, but I don't think they're as bad, because we don't people are not actively being discriminated against based on those things, like the transgender community is experiencing it. Here's one thing I want to say. I know a lot of people on Atheist Republic disagree with this and say, like, oh, transgender stuff is anti-scientific, or it's a mental disorder. And whenever you ask them for their for them to give them this, the scientific sources that they're using, you realize that they don't have anything. They're just saying it because the people they follow say it. But unless you do, then show it to us. But if you guys think this whole thing as anti-scientific, or if you don't believe that being transgender is based on science or anything like that, if you think that, you have to agree at least that what these transgender people, whether you think they're right or wrong, have been mistreated forever, right? So whatever the solution is to this, and whatever you think should be done, you should at least at the same time be against the mistreatment. Like, can we at least be on the same side on that? Like, let's say we have some people saying, okay, no, being transgender is a real thing. It's biological. It's happened over in history. They don't. If they get to live as the gender that they want, they have to deal less with depression. If you're on that side, or if you're on the side of, no, it's a mental illness, this is bullshit, this is anti-scientific, whatever side on this argument you are, can we at least both of us agree that they shouldn't be abused, they shouldn't be hated on, they shouldn't be mistreated? Can we get together on that, and on that point at least?
Right. Well, and it's important to clarify also that science hasn't always been accurate when it comes to things like gender and sexuality, especially when it comes to chromosomal mutations. People used to think that it was just X, Y, and XX, but over the years, and very recently, we've discovered that there are very other variations of those combinations. So it's important to understand that science can be wrong, but something that is not wrong is our altruistic state as humans, our humanity. It's something that we need to embrace above everything, including science. We need to treat our fellow humans with compassion and with dignity, regardless of our personal beliefs. Our altruism and our desire to see the human species progress should be paramount in our decisions when it comes to interacting with others.
Boston is saying, why do you guys publish videos without proper research? I don't know what research you're referring to. Are you talking about transgender issues or this news story? Because all we're doing is we're covering the news. And this means, like, we're not ending the conversation. This is a way for you to address something that has happened. I mean, are you saying we didn't do the research on this news? Because this news did happen, and the one reason why we have the live chat up is for you guys. If we make a mistake, we're gonna make mistakes. You guys, we don't have that many people working here. Okay, this is the news that has happened. We are covering it, and we are gonna make mistakes, and that's why we have the live chat and the comment section even after the video is over. For you to to help us. We rely on the entire Atheist Republic community to help us out, correct us if this is wrong. This is a way for us to begin looking at the news. Let us know if we made a mistake, and if you have any research you want to refer to, please link to it in the comment section. This is not the end of the conversation.
Absolutely.
Soraya is saying because the person on the other side of the phone is being decent person and is unknown about you, that's fine. Okay, yep, that's fair, Soraya. But even if they did that on purpose to me, Soraya, I don't think as a cis person being misgendered is as big of a deal than a transgender. No. because when you do it to transgender, it's part of discrimination against the transgender community. Pakistani atheist is saying, why? First of all, Pakistani atheists, are you in Pakistan? Be careful. Pakistani atheists saying, what do you think of the forced transgendering of gay people in Iran? Well, that's fucked up. Because in Iran, I mean, I'm pretty sure most people accept this, and we could all agree on this at least. Because cis gay people in Iran are being forced to go through transgender operation because in Iran they accept transgender rights, but they don't accept gay rights. You get hanged if you do anything gay, but if you are gay, you can be with the sex that you want by going through transgender operation, which is fucked up because a lot of gay people, I mean most gay people, don't want to change their gender. They're comfortable with the gender they're in. Uday is saying physically there's only two genders. Psychologically there may be more, which is why many cultures have more than two genders. I think when you say physically, you're referring to sex. Uday, I don't know. I have to. I mean, I did an entire episode of it. I think when you say psychologically, you're talking about gender. When you're talking about biologically, you're talking about sex. That's I know it's more complicated than that, but that's just my summary of it. Well, you're muted, Jim. Jim, you're muted.
Oh, sorry.
You sounded very passionate talking. I didn't know what to say. Okay.
Yeah. I obviously had something to say.
Okay. Okay.
Gender is about how you express yourself and how you feel on the inside, and sexuality is about what you do in the bedroom. That's nobody's business.
I mean, come on, guys. We know transgender is a real thing. We see kids as young as 3 or 4, and you know that nobody told them to be transgender. You can see that they're okay. Yes, this is look. He looks like a boy, but it's definitely a mind of a girl. Like it's so. I mean, the people that are pro two gender thing, they should. This whole transgender thing, you should use that as if what to. Anyways, anyway, I don't know.
Well, no, I think that's a bad premise for the argument because they go into the argument thinking that there's only two genders and
no, I'm just saying those are two separate things. But I'm saying here's how separate they are. Even many transgender people think there is only two genders, many transgender, and I'm not agreeing with them because there seems to be suggestion that there are some, there's only two sexes, right? But there is suggestions to show there are very few people that lie somewhere in between, right? But most transgender people are binary, and some transgender people go as far as saying, no, hold on. Some transgender people say that there's only two genders, and they see this narrative of gender being completely a social construct, which is not. Gender is not a social construct; it is biological. Even if it is not binary, it's still biological. But some transgender people think that because they worked this is why they're sensitive about it. They say like, I was identified as a man, and I worked all my life to fight for my right to be identified as a woman. And now you're telling me gender is not even a real thing. And they're saying, no, fuck you. There's two genders. I used to be a man. Now I'm a woman. So that's what I'm not saying they're right. I'm just saying this is how separate these two topics are. Gender fluidity and transgender are not the same thing. Even some transgender people think there's only two genders.
No, it's not the same thing, but gender fluidity plays into it. The only reason that people subscribe to the binary system is because that's all that they know. They know male and female. They know boy and girl. They know man and woman. But even you admitted that there are people who exist in between, and it has nothing to do with their genitalia. It has to do with how they express themselves and how they feel.
That's not what I'm. But that's not what I'm addressing.
What I would ask the people who subscribe to that binary concept is, where do you draw the line? If you admit that there is a spectrum and that men are on this side and women are on this side, and you have what would be considered masculine men or whatever, and more feminine men how people label it, and then on the other side you have the same thing going over to what they would consider a feminist woman. Okay. So where along that line do you stop?
Okay, I'm gonna say
man or expressing yourself as a man and become a woman. The only reason that there are two genders is because the people that are in between have not assigned labels to themselves or have been assigned labels. So that is the only reason there's a binary system. The only reason.
No, the reason why there's binary system is biological. Okay, it's based on biology, Jim. They're admitting that there's some fluidity to it. does not mean that it's not biological. The fact is that most people, hold on, most people are gender binary, okay? Even most transgender people are gender binary, okay? And yes, there does exist some fluidity, and they should not be ignored.
How
But
can there be fluidity
hold
biologically?
on. Well, come on. Hold on. Let me finish this. The reason why most people, including most transgender people, are gender binary is not because of society, it's because of genetics. And again, this does not. A lot of people completely dismiss gender fluidity, and that's also wrong. There does exist some tiny group of people that are fluid and they're in between. They should not go ignored. They should not be told that they are wrong, that they don't exist. Okay, they do exist, but the reason why it's biological is because your chromosomes and do impact your hormones, and your hormones do impact where on this side you're gonna be. Okay,
Of course.
This is pure science. Just like the reason why we know this is biological is because animals also are mostly binary. Okay, and admitting that being binary is based on genetics is not denying transgenderism, and it's not even denying gender fluid people.
Okay, so binary, take binary code for example. There's zeros and ones, right? If you have an entire code made up of zeros and ones, but then you also have some threes and fours and twos thrown in there, however small that number is, it is no longer a binary system. You cannot just say that it's mostly a binary system.
Yeah, it is mostly binary.
But it can't be but even if it's a mostly binary system, you can no longer refer to it as a binary system. You have to.
Hey, what do you okay, so if you say most people are straight, okay, does that mean no, there are some people that are gay, so there is no such thing as straight.
But nobody claims that there is only one sexual preference.
No, that's not what I'm claiming. I'm saying most people are binary. Most people are either fully male or fully female, both in sex and in gender identity. The reason why most people are like that, and here's the thing: being a minority doesn't mean anything less of you. Okay, just because transgender people are such a small fraction of group of people, that doesn't mean they should go ignored. In fact, they should be protected even more because it's hard. But okay, so when you say, okay, so gay people are a minority compared to straight people, but they are a bigger portion of our society than transgender people, and that's why transgender rights might be one reason why transgender rights is a little behind gay rights, because there were more gay people to fight for the rights. So if you are a smaller minority, that's not. If I say, oh, transgender people are only this percentage of, a lot of people that are against transgender people will say, like, but they're so tiny. Well, yeah, that's why they need more protection, because there's not that many of them. There's not enough of them to fight for their rights. They require cis people to fight for them as well, fight for their rights as well. So this is, when I say there's such a tiny group of, such a tiny minority, that's not against them. In fact, that should be an argument for protecting them. But what I'm saying is that the fact that most people go on being fully male or fully female is because gender identity is a reflection of biological sex. Okay? And yes, for many people it isn't. But for most people it is. And we don't have to deny that to acknowledge transgender people and gender fluid people, which are even smaller group of people than transgender people. We don't have to deny that to be able to acknowledge that. Anyways.
Right, but the man and woman is based on the XY and XX chromosome, and with all the other chromosomal mutations that do exist that you admitted yourself, we would society eventually will assign labels to those chromosomal mutations, and the people
you don't have to have a chromosomal mutation for you to be transgender or or gender fluid.
I know, but you're talking about biological gender, right?
Even if you're fully even though you could be gender fluid, you could be gender fluid and be XXXY and gender fluid. Okay. Yeah, you don't need to have a special kind of different chromosome.
I'm not claiming that. I'm not claiming that. But you were the one who was talking about that there's a biological precedence for these people's arguments, and that's what I was arguing was the biological aspect of it, which is the chromosomal mutation.
I'm saying I'm not whose people arguments. I'm not arguing for people that are against transgenders and or against trans fluid people. I'm saying
I know you're arguing against the binary system, which is based on the XY and XX chromosome.
I'm not, Jim. I'm saying gender fluidity is a thing, and it should be recognized, and people that are gender fluid should be recognized and protected. But what I'm saying is that, by and large, gender identity is binary, except a very small tiny group of people, and the reason why it's binary by and large, but not always, right, is because your gender identity is a reflection of your biological sex. Saying that doesn't mean it's 100% binary, okay? Because here's how you lose the argument is by when you in your fight for gender fluid people. If you make it seem like it does, like your sex and gender biology has no impact on any of this, right? It's completely separate. You're not going to do gender fluid people any good, because then it's easy to dismiss your case, because they're like, oh, look at these people are saying your sexual biology and your gender identity are completely disconnected. And if you claim that, then you're stepping outside of science, and then you're not going to be in a good position to protect gender fluid people. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was just addressing the people who believe in a binary system based on biological biological evidence. That's all I was arguing.
Okay. Let me read some more comments and then move on to the next. By the way, guys, everything I said here could be completely horseshit. Please point out in the comments why I'm wrong. Okay, this is just my opinion, which could be totally wrong. Okay. And hopefully somebody will point it out to me at some point if it's wrong. I'm not saying, don't trust me on this. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an expert. So go do your research. Soraya is saying Jim should visit porn sites often to study gender, maybe. Well, Uday is saying physically there are only...
That would be sexuality.
Yeah. Oh, I already read that. Christy is saying, exactly, Armin, identity politics should not be discounted completely. You are correct on on that one. When used correctly, it can make a big difference in helping marginalized people. Oh, thank you, Christy. Daniel saying that's like refusing use someone's name because it's a Muslim name and you don't like Islam. That's a good example. Pakistani atheist is saying we have transgender people running for parliament in Pakistan. Yeah, wow, that's weird. I didn't know that about Pakistan. Yeah, it's weird. In some Islamic countries, transgender rights has managed to gain more grounds than gay rights. Oh, we got a super chat from Nusantara, 5, I think, Australian dollars. That's very sweet. Thank you so much. Gender is like fiqh. There are many schools, but fiqh is basically Islamic jurisprudence, Islamic law. So he's saying gender is like fiqh. There are many schools, but there has to be a categorization. Left versus right has fluidity, but simplification is easier to be one. Actually, this is a good example because when you think about Islamic school of thought, everybody understands that there are two main ones, Sunni and Shia. Yes, there's many other little bits here and there, and nobody is denying that they exist. but it's not wrong for you to say that there's mostly either Shia or Sunni. And saying something is small or marginal should not be seen as an attack. In fact, it should be seen as more excuse to protect a group of people. Okay, if I say, oh, but they're just 1% of the population, that's not an attack on a group of people. Again, thank you so much for your super chat. Jim, are you okay? Are you?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, I'm wondering if I. All right, let's see. We spent so much time on this one. This is a hot topic. Let's go to. But again, I know Atheist Republic community. A lot of people have a disagreement on this, and I'm hoping the disagreements that we have is not motivated on hating on a group of people. But even if you disagree with either me or Jim, I'm hoping it's based on either good information, and even if it's based on misinformation, it's because we are misinformed, not because we're trying to be shitty to an entire group of people. Okay?
But the most important part, though, is that we're having this conversation, is that we are discussing this. So please continue this conversation in the YouTube comments, the Facebook comments. It's really important that we talk about issues like this, so that way we can come to more of an understanding and maybe educate some people on some things. I know that in just the past year, I've been educated by others on this particular topic just from having the conversation. So please talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always better to be misinformed than to be an asshole, right? So if you're misinformed and your position is based on misinformation, I think that's a better, I mean, that could be fixed, but being an asshole, that's harder to fix.
That's right.
So if you have your opinions, if you think something is science, I hope it's genuinely because you think this is science, not because you're trying to be, a dick to transgender people. We got another super chat by Jen Morgan. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jen.
$4.99. Jen is saying, one of the fairest, most open transgender discussions by cis people I have ever heard on YouTube. Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you, Jen. That's very generous. Thank you very much. That made me very happy to read.
Yeah, that made me happy too. That's great. I'm really glad that because I'm always worried about things that I'm insensitive to because I'm misinformed on, and I always try to approach topics that I'm not privy to or that don't really affect me all that much. I try to approach them with a lot of sensitivity and a lot of empathy, I guess.
Right.
So it's really great to hear that the conversation was productive. So that's good to hear.
All right, let's go to the next news.
NBA star Steph Curry thinks we never landed on the moon. The star of the Golden State Warriors and two-time MVP Steph Curry said on the Winging It podcast that he did not believe we ever landed on the moon. He asked, we ever been to the moon? The others in unison agreed that the answer was no. A NASA spokesman politely invited Curry to check out the Johnson's Space Center the next time he's in Houston, and Curry took him up on the offer. Later, of course, Curry walked back the statement saying that he was just kidding. But if you listen to the podcast, he definitely wasn't kidding. He really.
But that's a good sign. If he says he was kidding, maybe he changed his mind. That means he must have seen something that changed his mind. No.
Well, no, because kidding means that you didn't have your mind changed, means that you didn't genuinely believe that. But having your mind changed, I mean, maybe he said he was kidding after he had his mind changed.
I understand that, but I'm just saying he might be lying that he says he's kidding, but maybe he realized that even if he's lying, he might have looked into it and realized that, oh shit, this seems legit. So, and now,
or he might have just been embarrassed by everybody who flamed him on Twitter and Facebook.
I genuinely hope that he actually went and done some research and he realized that, okay, never mind.
Well, and later on in the conversation, the other people who were there, they started talking about, Stanley Kubrick and that the moon landing was a hoax perpetuated by Hollywood. I don't
understand why this is so popular. This conspiracy.
Well, it's been popular since the moon landing because people they just couldn't conceive how it would be possible that we landed on the moon.
No, but usually for these things to be popular, it has to serve some kind of agenda, like 9/11.
No, not at all.
Uh,
In a way, it does serve an agenda. It's an anti-government conspiratorial theory, much like the September 11th attack in New York was.
I see the agenda behind that one. This one is just a little bit more difficult. Yeah, but it's mostly anti-governmental or, just mistrusting the news or everything you hear. But
they usually have hot points that are repeated, these conspiracy theories. So nobody really has original opinions about these. Like, for instance, everybody who believes the moon landing was fake believes that Stanley Kubrick was behind it. He was a famous Hollywood director and scene designer. So
okay, I understand that he got a lot of shit on it on Twitter for this, but Twitter, right? But I really like the response of him being invited to go see like the NASA. This is the right way you respond.
Exactly.
I hope he takes up on the offer and goes there. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very amazing tour. They should record that tour and put it on something. But I think this is how you respond to if somebody says, "Hi, we never landed on the moon," and you just call them an idiot, they're not going to go home and be like, I guess we did land on the moon, right?
Yeah.
But when you say to people like,
it's a conspiracy, they're covering it up.
No, but if you just respond to them like, you're an idiot, go educate yourself, you fucking stupid asshole or whatever. These things don't work. But look, this is
unless you put a peer-reviewed link after you call them a stupid asshole.
no, because they're less likely to click on it if you click on it if you call them an asshole. But the thing is that this is a good example of how you respond to something like this. Somebody offered them a tour, and to go and look at things and have things explained to them. Did he accept the offer? He said he accepted the offer, right?
He actually did, and he said that he would be excited to learn more and to educate himself.
That's awesome.
So in a way, he was actually humbling himself and admitting that he didn't know certain things, but he wouldn't come right out and as a matter of fact, he denied that he really believed the moon landing was a hoax. But this wasn't something that was just briefly mentioned on the podcast. They talked about this for a while.
Yeah, so I understand he might have been lying, but overall, this is a good story. I thought this is going to be a ridiculous story, but this is actually a good story. This is a good story of somebody having a ridiculous opinion and some people responding to it properly, and he's accepting the offer and being excited about learning more and changing their mind. Okay,
exactly.
So don't look at the story when somebody says some ridiculous shit. Don't just look at it as something you could laugh at. See it as a potential success story, something that could be turned around, and something that people do. Even people with the most ridiculous ideas have the potential of changing their views if you respond to it properly. And this is a great example of that. Who made this offer? Can we congratulate the person that made this offer? Who is that?
It was just a NASA spokesman. I couldn't find a name. If anybody has a name, please leave that in the comments below. But he the way that the NASA spokesman approached the situation is the way that we need to approach things. Everything that we either don't necessarily believe in, or the way that we should approach people who are holding those doubts. Because like you said, whenever you reach out to somebody like that cordially and with a genuine desire to educate somebody, 9 times out of 10 they're going to take you up on that offer. Now, whether or not they leave the conversation amicably and with a change of mind, that's a completely different story. But yeah, I mean, anybody, flat earthers, pro-lifers, anybody who holds these beliefs that are fundamentally flawed, I think that we should always attempt at first to reach out and educate them.
Wait, the top comment, Wade is saying, and this is why he chases the ball around and not something important in life. Well, wait, the thing is that he seems to show that he's willing to change his opinion. I think that's very important, and I don't know that many people that are really like that. That's
he doesn't just chase a ball around, man. He's a baller. Okay, he's a baller.
No, I mean, I think this is even more important than being smart, because even if like people are really, they hold on to, even some very smart people hold on to their ideas even when it's pointed out to them that are wrong. I think
Absolutely.
you being somebody that is willing to listen and reconsider is even more important than being smart. And it is different. It is different as being smart and being willing to accept, being humble enough to admit that you're wrong. In fact, sometimes being smart works against being, not that it's bad to be smart, but sometimes if you're very smart, that humility is you're gonna lose that humility. But being humble enough to admit that you're wrong is gonna get you into, hopefully, if people reach out to you, get you into more right positions. Then maybe sometimes it works in your favor even more than being smart, because being smart is like having a very powerful CPU, right? But what makes it into your hard drive is your choice, and whether what you put in your, what you do with the information you're given, if it's something that you get to decide. And even some people that are not smart, they work harder on trying to figure out if the information they have is correct or not. It might take them extra work, but that willingness to try to understand if the information that they have is correct or not, and to test it, and analyze it, works in their favor if they put in the work. I do understand that not being smart might make you have to do more work, but it's the work that you put into it and the attitude that you have towards the knowledge that you have, or the knowledge that you think you have, that at the end is going to be the deciding factor whether most of your beliefs are based on reality or not. But go on, Jim.
The NASA spokesman that invited Steph Curry was Allard Butel. Thank you, Beach, for looking that up. That's awesome. To Allard, thank you so much. That's amazing. Please continue to educate people and do what you do.
Yeah. And so, Moose is saying, Jim, why do you think Americans are so anti-science?
Because Americans love conspiracy theories. There's nothing better than a good conspiracy theory, and people love having knowledge that nobody else has, having hidden knowledge, or the semblance of having hidden knowledge, and it's something that people like to talk about. And that the main problem is that there are a lot of people in American media that perpetuate these claims. So it's a real problem when you have authority figures that are promoting this kind of thing.
Soraya is saying, even I sometimes think maybe we never landed on the moon. I'm an animation artist, but what if I die and get up in bed and realize until now what everything was a dream? Okay, yeah, but okay, Soraya, you have to. Anything is possible, but it's about how likely things are, not merely just if they're possible. Let me see if anybody tagged us on Facebook. Not here. Nope. No. Sorry if I miss anything. Okay, let's go to the next news.
Next news. Bishop. Women who are sexually abused probably did much to cause the assault.
Right?
Florida Bishop Donald J. Sanborn.
Wait. I have the wrong news.
Oh.
Hold on.
Yes.
Okay, Bishop. Okay, I have the right one. Okay, read it again. Sorry.
Bishop. Women who are sexually abused probably did much to cause the assault. Canadian Senate. I'm sorry. Florida.
Try from the beginning, because I have to cut this, and you're reading it in a very read it like it's the first time you're reading it. Go on.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Bishop. Women who are sexually abused probably did much to cause the assaults. Okay. Florida Bishop Donald J. Sanborn wrote on his blog in Veritate that women who are sexually abused probably did much to cause the assault. He continues, quote, "The effect of all of this revolution in sexual mores, as well as the role of women, is that men and women have been thrown together into situations which are very dangerous. Women are daily interacting with men in the workplace. In many cases, they are dressed in such a way as to be immodestly attractive to men. The inevitable result is that unless the men in the office are very vigilant about the virtue of chastity and and fidelity to their wives, some very bad things take place. What the fuck?
This guy, I don't know, is this guy really trying so hard to be hated? I don't know what this, like, does he not, like, go home and listen to what he said? Like, what the fuck did I just say? Like, what? I mean, I guess we have to thank this guy for like reminding us how fucked up their ideology is.
What this guy needs to do is to, if he's going to follow the Bible, why is he blaming the women for the men's actions and for the men? In the Bible, it says if your eye causes you to lust, pluck it out. So why? Thou shalt not look at another man's wife with lust. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. I mean, that's a 10 commandment. It's one of the 10 commandments. It's
no, don't give credit. Don't give credit to the Bible for any.
No. I'm not giving credit to the Bible. I'm showing the sexism that is being spewed here. I mean,
I have a question.
He's talking about women and the way they dress being the problem with men's virtuousness and their faithfulness to their wives. That's absolutely absurd. Why not address the men's inability to keep their mind on work things and not being perverted? I mean, what the fuck?
Okay. Well, I mean, come on. This is obvious shit. This is obvious bullshit.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you would think it's obvious, but unfortunately, we have to report on shit like this because.
Okay, but what I want to know, what's less obvious to me, is that is this a person that thinks like he knows how out of touch he is with the society, or does he,
he's a bishop?
So he's like, or does he know, like does he go out go out there and say this thing knowing that it's gonna cause a shitstorm tomorrow, or does he go out there and like this is obviously true? And get surprised by the reaction that he gets. So, and like how out of touch are these people? I want to know. But
first, I want to clarify that he's not part of any Catholic church. He's not any official bishop.
How could you be Catholic and not official? Is it if you're not official Catholic? Doesn't that make you a Protestant by definition?
Well, no. I mean, he still claims to follow Catholicism, but it's his own sect. He's not a part of the official.
So he's protesting against the Catholic Church. The official that makes him a Protestant. That's how you become. Okay, anyways, but that's where the name Protestant comes from. He's Catholic, but he's not part of the. Okay, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is he's saying that these women who are being sexually abused, not just, we're not talking about adultery, we're not talking about fornication, we're not talking about anything like that.
He's victim blaming. He's obviously victim blaming.
Yes, okay. Exactly. But I mean, I don't think I should have to clarify it, but unfortunately, I feel like I have to. But what a woman wears does not lead to sexual abuse.
Yeah, I feel it's so hard for me to say these things because I was like. Whenever you say these things, I'm like, yeah, like why are you
exactly.
saying?
I feel like I'm sitting here saying 2 + 2 is 4. How fucking hard is it to get that? Like, I mean, it's just.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I just feel so lazy saying these things because, like, yeah, what a woman wears doesn't mean that it doesn't make them. You can blame them for being the victim, and like, I just even don't feel like saying that because it feels like. Who are we talking to? But it seems like we have to say these things. But so
well,
I mean,
it's either we say that or we tell all the women out there, stop making men attack you. Like, I mean,
let's try to do the impossible, okay? Because we have to try to see.
Don't we get the devil's advocate thing here.
Yeah, we have to do devil's advocate because we want to be able to see where they're coming from, or because again, we can't just point.
You can't. There is no devil's advocate position.
No, let's try because again, this is part of what we say. We can't just point at people and say they're stupid and think that they're going to change their mind. Or what are we going to do? Like these people must have heard all the stuff that you're saying, right? So it can't be like they have never heard of it. So we keep just repeating it to them is not gonna work. So we have to see, like, let's try to do the impossible. Okay, so okay, please don't cut this part out and make it seem like I'm saying these things. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so men are on average, no, that's not true. So women, when you dress up, like when you highlight, when you try to make yourself look prettier, and wear shorter skirts, or show off your boobs, or put makeup on, and wear high heels, you're signaling your sexual attractive sexual parts of your body to the rest of the world. You're telling people that I want you to see this. I want this to be noticed. Why wouldn't you do that unless you wanted it to be noticed? Like, if you're showing off your boob, are you also not wanting it to be noticed, right? So given that people that might abuse people, they are more likely to abuse women if these signals are put out there and sent to them, and you put it out there, and it's more likely for them to want to do something. And don't you see a correlation between you putting it all out there and you also having been more likely? And okay, so I'm going to try to make the devil advocate even as strong as possible. I know this is, please don't hate me. So they might even come and say, yes, even if you completely cover up, you still might get raped or molested or sexually abused in some way. We're not saying this is, it might not happen, but what you're saying is that is it not more likely that will happen if you're showing it all off, right? And you might say, like, oh no, don't teach women what to wear, teach men not to abuse. Again, it's not like I'm not making it binary like that. Yes, men also get sexually molested and raped, and women also do rape. But
that's not the argument.
That's not the argument. Yeah, okay. So, but yeah, you might want to say that, but we're talking about men that are. We're not talking about men that won't. We're not talking about gentlemen. We're not talking about men that are decent. Okay, we're talking about men that do rape and abuse, do rape and do sexual misconducts. Among them, they're not going to stop just by telling them to stop, but they're more likely to molest women if women dress up, if they send out these signals more openly, right? So why not, for the sake of women themselves, not send out these signals as openly as they do? Isn't that so? Anyways, that was
okay. Well, if we're wanting to talk about stopping root causes, then why don't we do this? How about
no? Address what I said. Don't start a different argument. Address my devil's advocate.
Yeah, I know.
I have a response to my own devil's advocate
position. Why not take it one step farther and tell men to put their penis behind a locked cage, and they have to wear a chastity belt while they go to work, and whenever they come home to their wife can unlock it. Or if they're single, they have to leave their key at the house, and when they get home, they can unlock it. I mean, it's ridiculous thinking that stopping workplace assaults will can only be done by having or can be done by having women change what they wear. What women wear is not an action that is exclusive to sexual assault, and sexual assault is not exclusive to what women wear. Sexual assault is exclusive to sexual assault.
I already addressed that. I said it doesn't. What the devil's advocate that I put out there is that it's not that it will stop it, but it will make it less.
What's your evidence for that?
It's an educated hypothesis.
Okay, well, but in order to, are you saying that that's something that would have to be tested, or are you saying that based on religious knowledge, knowledge that you have from your doctrine, that is what will stop it? That telling women to dress modestly, like it does in the Quran and in the Bible, will change that?
No, okay. So even my response to myself would be, even if it is true, my response is not that this is not true. Even if it is true that the more women show off, I mean, or even men, if they, people want to look good, whether they're women or men. It helps their
it helps their self-image. For anybody else, it's because they're
no. It could be about other people. It doesn't matter if it's about other people. I mean, it may be okay. So maybe you want to look good because it's not for anybody else but yourself, right? You want to look good. It makes you feel good about yourself. No, maybe you're going to the gym to have a six-pack ab because you want people to notice. Maybe it's for other people, right? But that doesn't mean, like, imagine if you want to have,
what I'm saying is, though, is that in the end,
let me finish. If you're a man, if you want to be toned, and if you want people to notice that you have a toned body, that's obviously not an invitation for you to be raped, okay? So, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Maybe you just want to be noticed.
And even if I was to get dressed up nice and go out to the club with the intention of getting laid, like I dressed up so I would get laid, so I would have a better chance of getting laid.
Right.
Me looking good.
That's not an invitation to everybody. That's just an invitation to the person that you want. Do you like, right?
Exactly. In the end, there has to be consent.
No. Of course,
there is no invitation. But consent is not given by what you wear. Consent is given verbally.
But the devil's argument was not saying that the rapists are not doing anything wrong. The devil, I know the devil argument is going to be weak no matter what I do because it's a bad argument. But let's not go with the weakest devil's argument. The devil's advocate argument is that. These people are doing something wrong, but you're making it more likely. Okay, the problem is that security, even if it's true, let's say that you having a toned body is going to make it more likely that you're going to get raped. Okay, if you have a toner body, it's more likely that Jim is going to get raped. So should Jim not go to the gym? Okay, because should you stop exercising because having a toned body it's going to make it more likely for you to get raped? No, that's fucking bullshit. Because
I have a pretty toned body and I've never been raped.
No, but is it going to make it more likely?
No.
It might make it more likely. It might make it more likely. You're anecdotal. Let's say you were in prison, okay? And there were some people that were not toned, and you were toned, okay? And in prison, you might get raped, and people are gonna come after you because you have a more toned body. So it might make it more likely. I'm not saying it. I don't know if it would or not.
I don't agree with that. I believe that
you don't even agree that it might.
Has to do with what is allowed or with
you don't know, but okay, you're missing my point. You're missing my point. You're missing my point. Let's say putting makeup on and wearing short skirts and showing off your boobs is actually going to make it more likely that you're going to get raped. Let's say that's true. Let's say there's a correlation. Okay, well, what I'm saying, even if that is true, security should not come as a cost to the way we want to live. What we have to, if that is true, this is a security threat that we need to increase the security for women, right? Because, we need to be able to create a society where people could live the way they want to live without that being a threat to their safety. Do you know what I mean? So that the situation is to have better police or more cameras in clubs or more bouncers across the club or whatever, right? Even if there is a correlation, even if there is a direct correlation, yes, women that that are showing off their body more are more likely to get raped. The solution to that should not be that you change your lifestyle because you want to show off your body. Maybe that makes you feel better. Maybe no. Maybe it's not just for you. Maybe it's for other people to notice. Maybe it's even an invitation to certain people. All of that might be true, and maybe because of that, more people that are rapists want to rape you. And people say go tell people not to rape. Well, I don't. Maybe that won't work. There should be more security. The answer should be more security.
But the devil's advocate position maybe won't work, and in fact is much more likely to not work, because the fact of the matter is, it is the way that men behave that is causing this, that is causing the rape culture and the sexual assault culture that exists in today's world, and not what women wear. Because even in third world countries where women are wearing burqas, if they attend the streets alone at night, they are raped.
You're missing the correlation.
Because they are alone and vulnerable. So it has nothing to do with what a woman wears. I'm answering the devil's advocate position.
You don't know how correlations work. Just because it happens, Jim. Just because something happens, it doesn't mean that it wouldn't happen more if there was something, if you change a factor. Okay, so let's look at, so for example, in Islamic country, look, people are wearing hijab head to toe covered, and women are still getting abused, right? Why? Yeah. I might respond by saying yes, but if among all these hijabi women, if you had one woman that was not hijabi, that woman would be at greater risk to all the other hijabi women. That is not an extraordinary claim to make, okay?
But not because she looks better, but because they will rape her to prove a point to the other women. It has nothing to do with how good she looks.
Jim. Come on. Are you serious?
Yes.
You're saying that.
It is done as punishment, just like raping a woman who's alone after dark in certain parts.
You're coming up with specific examples that doesn't negates the correlation. But I'm saying the correlation is there, but it shouldn't matter, even if the correlation is there. See, this is what people...
Yes, the correlation is there, but that correlation isn't universal. The only universal correlation is men's behavior.
Correlation doesn't mean that universal correlation. No, you don't. Correlation doesn't mean that the R is 1. It doesn't mean that, I don't know. Okay, it doesn't mean that it works in every single scenario. Even
correlation versus causation, it can be correlating, but not the cause. What we need to talk about is the cause of this.
No, I'm talking about this is correlation that is also that might also cause. Okay, so correlation does not always mean causation, but correlation hints causation. So what I'm saying
exactly, but a correlation can be a causation, but in order to be a causation, it has to be universally applicable to all instances. The way it was addressed is not applicable to all instances of sexual assault.
Your examples are not proving that this correlation is not a causation. Your examples are coming up with specific scenarios. What I'm saying...
Okay, here, I'll give a scenario.
If you have a rapist in a sea of women that are covered head to toe, and one woman that is naked, I would put money that he's going to go for somebody that is more revealing. That is what I'm saying is that even if there is correlation, we should not be asking, and if this correlation is because of it does prove causation, we should not be asking women to change their lifestyle even if there's a causation, because instead there should be better security, because just like terrorists, right?
But the lack of security isn't the cause, Armin, and the lack of security is not a universal cause. There are instances where there is security. For instance, somebody living in the safety of their own home behind lock and key, and they're broken into and raped. So there is security in that case, Armin. But we have to look at our universal factors. Universal factors that exist in every instance, and the universal factor is men's behavior. in every single instance of a man raping a woman or a man sexually assaulting a woman, there is one common denominator, and that is a man and his behavior. And not in all those cases, or even in the majority of those cases, what did it have to do with a scantily clad woman?
Okay, I don't think you're understanding my point, but I'm gonna move on. I'm just saying the correlation doesn't have to be one working for every situation for it to be an actual correlation, and a correlation doesn't have to be working for every single example for it to actually be a causation. And if there is a cause, and I think there is a causation, but I think it doesn't matter that there's a causation, because just like when we say we don't, you know, when there's a terrorism and we don't want to let the terrorists win. By changing our lifestyle, we want to increase the security instead of changing our lifestyle. We also recognize that there are rapists, and we don't want to change our lifestyle because there are rapists. We want to increase security because there are rapists. Even if there's a direct causation, and I don't understand, there's no term, universal correlation doesn't make any sense. When we have in statistics is correlations that the relationship is R is exactly 1, or if R is less than 1. Okay, so
right.
Just because R is less than 1 does not mean there's no correlation. Okay, and there is a correlation here, and there might also be a causation here. And even if there is a causation, what I'm saying is that this does not suggest that we should change our lifestyle. Anyways, anyways, let's move on. Because people are getting tired. Why does society always focus on what women wear, but we never focus on what men behavior and why they don't control their urges? We do, but there are some sick men. I don't understand I mean, we are doing here. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, are you saying society is denying that people rape, and that people are sick, and that raping is wrong? And
no,
I don't
think that's what they're saying. I think they're saying that whenever these instances do occur, that people are so quick to blame the woman, just like in this instance, and they are the man.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go with the strongest devil's advocate, and the strongest devil's advocate is not if somebody says, "Hey, women cover up to," again, I'm against this argument. If somebody says women cover up so you protect yourself against rapists, I'm against that position, but my argument against that position would not be, oh, so you're saying it's okay to rape, because they're not saying that, and I'm not going to say, oh, so you're not going to blame the rapist, you're not going to think that the rapist is the problem here. That's not going to be my response, because that's not what they're saying. They acknowledge that the rapist is the problem. They think that you might protect yourself better against the rapist if you cover yourself. And that's the devil's advocate argument, and it's still wrong. But it's important to acknowledge what they're saying, so I could address why they're wrong. Right? They're not denying that the rapist has a problem. Anyways, let's move on. Because let me see the comments here. Okay, the top comment here is by Haiti. He's saying it's 2018 and we're still blaming rape on women's modesty and men's lack of control over temptation. Discussing again, I think this priest here guy did do this, because my devil's advocate was a different. Like this guy's position is like one of the lowest of the. I think even though my devil's advocate position is wrong. Oh. Hold on. Okay, the top comment here. Sorry. Even though my devil's advocate position was a little bit stronger than this guy, it's still wrong. But this guy's argument is he's actually blaming the woman, and he's making excuses for the abusers. So this guy is way out there. So I agree with Haiti. Tiffany is saying, I'm certainly not advocating anyone to do this, but if someone sexually assaulted him, I would laugh my fucking ass off and tell him it was his fault. No, I would not do that. Again, even if somebody is wrong, even if somebody's an asshole, being raped is not a justified punishment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, please.
I agree.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Jim. Sean is saying, if that's the case, someone...
I'm not an asshole. I mean, geez.
No, I know. You're great. I really like the fact that we disagree. Your positions against me are very strong. Sean is saying, If that's the case, someone should be smashing his teeth out the back of his hand anytime now. Holy fuck, these people are advocating violence. Please no. Meredith is saying, when a bank gets robbed, is it the bank's fault? They wouldn't get robbed if they didn't have money. Actually, this is a very interesting point, Meredith, because it's one position to... So there's two stupid positions, but one of them is more stupid than the other one, right? So if your position is that it's the bank's fault because they had money, which is kind of like the position of this bishop, that's really extremely stupid. This is really far out there. So if you say if it was the woman's fault, you're so far out. That's the dumbest position you could have. But if you say the bank, it's not the bank's fault, but it's good for the bank to have more more security, right? Like, don't open your gates to why didn't you have what if you go to the bank and say, why didn't you have better security cameras, right? And what the people that are saying that we're telling women to cover is kind of like a bank with no security system. When they get robbed, we're not saying that the person that robbed the bank didn't commit a crime. We're not saying the bank shouldn't have money, but we are saying that it would have been less likely for the bank to get robbed if they had more security. And the reason why that analogy is false is because, we want to look good. We want to have more self-confidence. We want to show off to people that we're attracted to something that they might become attracted to. And we shouldn't be giving that up. Okay? That's an important part of our biology. That's an important part of our sex life. This is a huge desire. This is part of our life. This is like eating and drinking and this is a major part of our life that we want to be able to enjoy. We shouldn't sacrifice that. We should find a way to get security without sacrificing that. And that's why that analogy doesn't hold. Again, both of those positions are wrong. One of them is more wrong than the other. Jim is on fire with his points. Very impressed. Muscal is saying...
Thanks,
with his debating points. By the way, I agree a lot with your viewpoints. It's good that we have Jim here because, or else people would lose hope. And it's good to have two positions. Anyways, so what's the next story? Okay, so Jeremy. Okay, Jeremy.
Do the ATF.
Okay, good.
ATF. There have been 5 attacks on Jehovah's Witnesses in Washington State this year. A fire early Friday destroyed a Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses in Lacey, a suburb of Olympia, Washington. No one was injured in the blaze and no arrests have been made. 3 other Kingdom Halls in Thurston were torched, and a 4th Kingdom Hall was hit by gunfire. The sheriff said local Jehovah's Witnesses are terrified, and no arrests have yet been made.
Do you know if this was an inside? Like, this could be some... somebody from within their own community that was wrong. I heard some people suggesting that.
Yeah, I mean, some people are suggesting that, but in my personal opinion, knowing the way that the Kingdom Hall and Jehovah's Witnesses works, if you're excommunicated, usually it's you're used to going to one Kingdom Hall. So if you're raised in one Kingdom Hall, that's one you stay in. So if they had any animosity towards their Kingdom Hall, it would only be towards that one facility. But this seems like an outside attack because
why would anybody, like, I'm not denying this, but I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Why would people attack Jehovah's Witnesses in the United
because
States?
They believe well, because first of all, they're annoying as hell and they knock on everybody's front door.
And you fucking and you attacked and you burned them?
No. That was.
I'd rather somebody knock on. Yeah. No, these people are being real victims here. Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of Christian extremist groups, and there are a lot of Christian extremist groups who believe that they have a monopoly on the truth. Most religions believe they have a monopoly on the truth, but there are some who fundamentally are against Jehovah's Witnesses, believe that they're false prophets, that they're a false religion, and should be eradicated.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to report on these because when Christians claim that they're being a victim and we point out that they're not, it's important to balance that with showing when they actually are being the victim. Like, it's important not to ignore that. Like, it's important for us to not just, like, when atheists are being the victim, if we only report that, then we're being extremely biased. When people of a certain religion are being attacked specifically because they're a member of that religion, we need to acknowledge that and know that this is a real thing, and call it out when we notice it. I hope I don't see anybody defending this as an Adam saying
you know they are.
They are? Holy. Okay. Adam is saying, hate is hate, guys, even towards misguided people. We have to be above this and certainly not support it. Okay, I agree with you, Adam.
That's great.
But Adam said something else that I disagree with. He said, every time we cheer this on, we're being exactly the morally bankrupt people they accuse us of being.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree.
Okay, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we are demonized, and most atheists are looked at as not humanists, and most atheists are looked at as people who are just angry and hate the world.
Okay, but the only slight disagreement that I have with that is that I don't want atheists to be any atheist to be a representative of all atheists, right? I don't want to suggest that, hey, look, we're atheists and we're good. I just want to suggest, like, hey, we're atheists and we have our share of good people and our share of assholes and our share of everything, just like you guys. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, we are humans. I mean, period. And the only thing that atheists have in common is a disbelief in God. Any sort of moral attributes that you try to give atheists are completely false fundamentally, because you can't apply things like morality to atheists when we literally only have one thing in common. We don't have a doctrine that commands us to be good or bad. Now, Christians, I believe that we can lump together based on their doctrine. You can say, oh, look, they're a good Christian or they're a bad Christian based on how they follow their ideology. But you can't say that there's a bad atheist or a good atheist. You can just say that there is an atheist who's a good person or a bad person. But you can't be a good atheist in a fundamental sense.
No, yeah, but what I'm trying to be against is that I don't want any atheists to think that they're representing atheism. Like, I hear like a lot of people saying, like, oh, you're making atheism look bad. Oh, or you're making atheists look good. I don't represent atheism. I represent me. Okay, and we shouldn't shy away when we find people that are being atheists and they're being not very decent humans. We shouldn't be like, hey, this is going to make atheism look bad, or oh, you guys are going to make it given to the narrative that atheists are immoral. No, they shouldn't be. They're giving into the narrative that they're assholes. Not, I don't want our strategy to be like, hey, let's show that atheists. I guess our strategy should be that atheists could be good people, but like, maybe if you're an atheist and you do decent things, you're showing to people, like, look, atheism is not against being moral, right? But we shouldn't go as far as saying, look, atheists are good people, right? Like, we should be like, atheism doesn't go against morality.
But atheism makes no claims on morality.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I just want to be, you represent you, okay? And even when we have atheist communities, like Atheist Republic or other atheist communities, our community, sometimes good, sometimes bad, is representing this specific atheist community, not every atheist community. Okay?
But bottom line, though, a good atheist doesn't hold a God belief. A bad atheist is a theist. I mean, that's all there is to it. Now, if you want to say an immoral atheist, that's like the same thing as saying a Christian lion tamer. You know, the Christian part has nothing to do with whether you can tame lions or not. It's
Right,
whether or
right.
not you're a lion tamer. I
Or a
mean, it's
Muslim that is a fan of Game of Thrones, right? Like they have nothing to do with each other.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. It's
So yeah, Alex is saying because we atheists hopefully live in a rational world. I would say that we wouldn't want this to happen to anyone, and it is a shame. Sure, Jehovah's Witnesses are annoying and have really terrible views and opinions, but we can also remain peaceful and hope that no pain comes to these people just because they believe something we don't believe in. Okay, so we're getting mostly good comments here. How come we didn't get this on the China one? See, there's a bite.
because it's Islam.
Yeah.
Because Islam carries negative connotations. At least there
Islam
are some.
Islam should carry negative connotations, but it's just like Muslim. I think people are separating Christianity with Christians here, but they did less of that with Muslims and Islam. So
you know, I had some Jehovah's Witnesses come to my door one time, and I think I've already said this story, but over the course of them coming 4 different times to my house, each time bringing an elder with them after the initial visit, they brought me cookies, they washed my dishes, we had great conversation. These people genuinely believe that they are doing good, and they are a strong force of good in their communities. So I mean, you don't hear about any Jehovah's Witnesses being arrested for hurting some other religious affiliation or any extremist Jehovah's Witnesses. And so I mean, as much as I disagree with their belief, I will always invite a Jehovah's Witness into my home to talk religion.
And
it'll always be an amicable conversation.
Yeah, I actually went and found them and I invited them to my home. And then they kept on coming to my home for 6 months, and then they blacklisted my home. So like I
was blacklisted as well.
Yeah, so instead of them coming at my door knocking, I actually went and found them and brought them to my home. And now, whenever I call them, they send nobody. I've been blacklisted.
Yeah. They eventually were unable to answer my questions with the contradictions in the Bible that I had addressed with them, and they eventually brought the elder of the church with them, and he answered some of them, and he said, "Well, these other ones that I can't answer, I'm going to take home and study more." And the last time that he took a list of questions home to study more to give me an answer on, I was informed that I was blacklisted and that I would not be receiving any more visits.
I didn't know that was a thing. Dustin is saying maybe Jehovah will testify as a witness. Okay, that's a play on words. Ray is saying when somebody says don't knock on my door again or I'll fuck you up, listen. Oh my god. Okay, so let me read the YouTube live chat. Is KC Atheist is saying exactly, speak for me. No, there's a space missing here. Exactly, I speak for me, and I wouldn't presume to speak for other people. Pakistani Atheist is saying Jehovah's Witnesses believe in the oneness of God. Tawheed is a concept in Islam, by the way. They will get well with Muslims. Well, they do agree with Muslims on that, but Muslims will think that they believe in the wrong God, so maybe not. Oh my god, people are... okay, so the rest of the comments are mostly jokes about maybe they should stop knocking on people's doors. Anyways, let's go to the next news. Some good news.
Great news. Canada repeals its blasphemy law. Canadian Senate has voted to repeal the country's blasphemous libel as part of a bill intended to remove outdated legislation dating back to 1892.
Hold on, let me bring this up on Facebook. I think my Bluetooth ran out of battery, and that's why the audio is showing. Okay, can you start from the beginning?
Sure. Canadian from the title. Let's see. Canada repeals its blasphemy law.
Yay.
Canadian Senate has voted to repeal the country's blasphemous libel as part of a bill intended to remove outdated legislation. Dating back to 1892, the crime of blasphemous libel was in principle punishable by a prison term up to 2 years under Section 296 of the Canadian Criminal Code. The law had historically been used to prosecute satire and criticism. free-thinking groups and humanists from across Canada ran a parliamentary petition calling for the repeal of Section 296, which gained 7,400 signatures. It was confirmed that the blasphemy law was being considered as part of a broader effort of justice reform. The government then included the repeal of Section 296 as in a bill to modernize the criminal code. The act consolidates and repeals many provisions now considered archaic or unconstitutional, which is known as Bill C-51. The bill reached the Senate in December of 2017 and passed third reading with amendments on October 30th, 2018.
Questions?
The House of Commons considered and rejected them until the Senate agreed it did not insist on its amendments. It now awaits royal assent by Governor General Julie Payette, at which point Canada's blasphemy law will be officially repealed.
This summary was a bit too long. But how was this even used? When was the last time this law used?
Well, first, I want to update and clarify that on December 13th, the Government General formally granted royal assent, so the repeal is official as of December 13th. So, congratulations, Canada.
So
that's
two questions.
Amazing.
Was this law used at all? When was the last time it was used? And actually, three questions. Why did it take so long for them to remove this law?
The last prosecution of blasphemous libel was in 1935 in R versus Rayhard in Quebec, and in that case there was an argument that the prosecutor E.J. Murphy had proffered in the case of R versus Sperry. So it basically he was guilty of blasphemous libel against the Roman Catholic Church. Said that, yeah, and so that was the last instance of it. But why did it take this long?
I mean, this is Canada, for fuck's sakes. What the hell? We have why would Canada? Why would such a secular country have a blasphemy law? This is insane.
It carried over from Britain. The blasphemous libel law originated in Britain, and it extended to the United States, to New Zealand, to Canada, to Ireland. All over the world, and it just it took Canada until now to change it. And the United States has its own archaic laws. In 6 states, I believe, it's illegal for an atheist to run for office, which is unconstitutional. But there are some unconstitutional laws that are still in practice, and stupid laws like you can't walk backwards eating ice cream in Massachusetts or some shit like that.
The fuck. Okay, but so did you answer why it took so long? Like, why wouldn't?
There's really no reason, but there is a large effort in Canada to repeal these unconstitutional and archaic laws that have existed for a long time that just don't mesh with modern society anymore. And honestly, it's because if anybody who understands the legislature process, it literally takes an act of Congress to remove a law or to amend a law, and so I'm just glad that they're running at this full force and just blanketing the entire legislature and taking out all these unconstitutional laws. And I'm very happy to please that it did pass royal assent as of the 13th.
Rod Dow is saying about goddamn time, so I think
about goddamn time.
Yeah,
yep. Amen.
No, I think Rod is like trying to blaspheme while saying that. Keith is saying, I fucked it up because I explained the joke. Keith is saying about fucking time. The only thing blasphemy laws prove is that theists secretly know us atheists are right, and that if they don't punish us for laughing at their ridiculous childish beliefs, no one will because God's not real. Maybe no, not for everyone. John is saying Canada had a blasphemy law ? Yeah, I think this news is spreading, and a lot of people that are outside of Canada, well, I mean even inside of Canada, the main thing about this news to them is like, wait, there was a blasphemy law in Canada.
But let me clarify, it's only blasphemous libel. It is not blasphemous slander. So libel is in print, slander is what you speak. So the blasphemy law was only applied to literature, to things that you wrote. So anybody could have their own full opinion about religion. I just wanted to clarify.
Right.
I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't just blasphemy in general. It is just
So wait,
blasphemous libel.
technically, Atheist Republic is a Canadian company, by the way. So
Yes,
technically,
and we are guilty of blasphemous libel.
Wait,
most
so
certainly.
technically, until like we've been doing this for like 13 years. So
Technically, you were like
we-
the freaking John Gotti of blasphemy.
So we were illegal all this time. This whole time we were like we had an illegal.
Shame
My
on
book-
you, Armin.
My book was
you should know better.
My book, Why There's No God, is published in Canada. So all this time we were basically breaking the law until just now.
Yes,
Okay, good to know.
that is correct.
And Noha is saying Jehovah, Jehovah, Jehovah. So that's basically trying to blaspheme. Let me see. Uday is that's a little bit after. Okay. They're saying I recall Tariq Fatah fighting for the replacement on social media. Oh, okay. Yes, Tariq Fatah, I think did that. Pakistani atheist is saying, why the fuck did it take so long to repeal this draconian law? It should have been repealed many years ago. I think part of why it took so long is because people knew that it stopped being enforced. But the reason why but it still should be removed because even symbolically it's such a disgusting thing to have there. So the reason why there was a delay is people understood that this is not going to be enforced. So it would just, but the reason why it did get removed is because you shouldn't have blasphemy laws. Casey Atheist is saying, awesome show tonight. Oh, thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Let's go to the next news.
Satanists will erect a haloed goat head on Michigan Capitol days before Christmas.
Yay!
This really makes me happy.
Yeah.
A satanic group in Michigan will erect a haloed goat head statue on the state capitol grounds just 4 days before Christians celebrate Christmas. Commissioned by the West Michigan Friends of the Satanic Temple, the Star of Reconciliation display will replace the snaketivity that has gone up in the past. The new statue is filled with rich satanic symbolism. The display is set to rival a Christian one by State Senator Rick Jones, who promised he would erect a nativity scene outside the Capitol.
That's beautiful. This is how you fight fire with fire, right? You want religion? It's okay. You can have it. Here's our religion. By the way, if anybody is not supporting the Satanic Temple because they think that, oh, I'm not going to support delusion, these are atheists. These are these people, the Satanic Temple. They're atheists. They're just the biggest trolls. This
is Lucian Graves. This is not Satanism worshiping the deity Satan. This is exactly it's atheism.
But don't tell the Christians, because the reason why this works is because they're so sensitive about anything satanic, and that's why they panic every time. So every time you want religion in school, religion in public spaces, we're like, yeah, it's cool. Let's religion is allowed in public spaces. The problem is, like, a lot of people want to scare them with Islam. Like, okay, if we want to have religion in school or religion in public spaces, then you should allow Islam as well, and that scares the shit out of them as well. But the thing is, I don't want Islam. That's worse. Like, I don't want Islam being told as truth to children or have it in public spaces. This is the best alternative. I mean, Pastafarianism is not very strong in the United States as an official religion.
I think all religions should be supporting them, not just atheists. I think that Muslims, that Hindus, that anybody
you want Muslims to support Satanism? Good luck with that.
No. I don't want them to support Satanism. I want them to support this act of religious inclusion. Because I mean.
They don't believe in religious inclusion. Are you kidding me? This scares the shit out of them. But this is okay. From all the ways to point out to Christians why secularism works, this is the best one. Okay, because first of all, it's by a bunch of atheists, right? Then it's not by Islamists that want religion in public sphere. Even though they're also Pastafarianism is cool and I love it, and it makes a point about how ridiculous it is to have religion in public places, but because it's understood by Christians as they know that this is a joke, it doesn't scare them. The only two things that really scares them coming in is either Islam or these Satanists, and I don't want Islam. So this is the best alternative, right? This is the way. This is how you make Christians agree that, okay, maybe keep Christianity in private places, in private homes, and in private schools. Right. It shouldn't be. This is the best way to convince them of that. But go on.
Do you remember at the council in Pensacola, Florida, where the local Satanic temple had a Satanic invocation, the Satanic prayer at the beginning of the city council meeting, and everybody lost their shit?
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Do you remember that? I loved that video and the guy's sincerity, and not just that, but I believe that the Satanic invocation, the Satanic prayer, was one of the most beautiful prayers I've ever heard.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about this church is that everybody in this church know that this is all made up, and the good thing about it is that you get to enjoy the mythology and the fiction and the stories. While knowing it's made up. Well,
it's not that it's made up though, because any of these Satanists will tell you that they don't believe in a literal Satan. They believe
so that's
in.
What I mean. They know it's made up.
Yeah, exactly. But what isn't made up is what they worship, and they don't worship the deity Satan, but they worship what he represents. They worship the freedom and the secularism and the idea that humans are going to do what they what is of human nature. So it embraces the human nature of things, and it embraces reason and rationality, and that's something that I really like about it.
So Phil is saying no, don't, not because I'm Christian, but the opposite. I'm fiercely atheist and don't want any religious statues in public. But no, you're missing the point, Phil. The point is that this the point is that the Satanic Temple comes in only when we lost that battle. So it's kind of like Phil is like, oh no, keep religion out of public spaces. Why are we putting Satanism? No, the point is that that's what the Satanic Temple wants, and that's why they come in public spaces when we lose. Every time we lose the battle, when we try to keep religion out of public life, every time we lose, they're like, okay, now that we lost it, it should be fair. If your religion is allowed, every religion should be allowed, including the Satanic Temple. And we want to show to them why the point of having a Satanic Temple in these areas is to make the point to the Christians of why it's a bad idea to have religion forced on children, or why it's forced on in public places on everyone else, or in government places on everyone else, right?
Yeah, and they prove the point that religion doesn't it's not exclusive to a single God. Like, religion just doesn't mean Baptist or Pentecostal or Methodist or Presbyterian. Religion doesn't mean different Christian sects. And a lot of Christians believe that when people say, hey, what religion are you? They say, oh, I'm Baptist. They don't say I'm Christian. They identify religion with a sect of Christianity. So for them to be exposed to this idea that, hey, you're not the only religion, and there are religions out there who directly contradict your beliefs, it really makes them second think the whole religious inclusion thing.
Yeah, and it makes a point when they say we want religion to be allowed in school. What they're talking about is what they really mean is they want their religion,
Christianity.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the Satanic Temple had the after school program for kids? And they released a Satanic coloring book.
Yeah. And they were so innocent. They were so cute. By the way, I think I misspoke. I keep saying religion is not allowed in public spaces. I meant government ground. Like, religion is allowed in public spaces in United States, but not in government. Not in taxpayer-funded places, because the government shouldn't be in favor of any religion over another. So when I say public, I meant publicly funded. But go on.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So let me see YouTube live chat. Pakistani atheists saying we need something like this done in Pakistan during Eid. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, Jack is saying, but yeah, I wish we could. I think Turkey had a Jedi
that
temple.
would go over like a lead balloon.
Yeah, Pakistan probably would be dangerous, but Turkey tried that at some point. Some atheists had a Jedi temple wanted to be funded by the government. There was a petition for that at some. Jack is saying, I'm not I'm not in Satanic temple, but I'm a member of the Church of Satan. I'm actually an ordained minister of the Church of Flying Spaghetti Monster. So you are a member of the Church of Satan, really? It really is fun to see the religious freak out when it's just a bunch of atheists. Yeah, is because
I'm a minister in the Church of Atheism, but that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I mean, I think it's hard for people that are majority to understand how the other people feel when religion is forced on them. So I think having satanic symbols in publicly funded area is a very good way to demonstrate to them how the rest of us feel with their Christianity.
Right. Early on in my atheism, I was an ordained Dudist priest. I followed Dudism. I don't know if you've heard of that at all.
No.
Oh, okay. It's based on the movie The Big Lebowski. It's kind of like a Zen Buddhist kind of religion.
All right, let's move on to the final news, right?
Final news. Man who stabbed Irish lecturer, 66, to death outside Paris University claims he insulted Prophet Muhammad before being murdered. John Dowling, a 66-year-old...
Oh, yeah, okay. 66 is his age. I thought he was... Okay,
correct.
Okay.
John Dowling, a 66-year-old English language teacher, was stabbed 13 times outside the Palais Universitaire Léonard de Vinci in northwest Paris as he left for lunch. The Pakistani man who brutally stabbed him is a former student, Ali R. He confessed that he held a personal grudge against the Dublin-born lecturer after being kicked out for failing exams last year. CCTV footage shows Mr. Dowling chatting with Ali outside the institution and around noon before the attacker took out a steak knife and plunged it into his throat and chest. Ali claimed to the French police that the lecturer had made fun of Islam during English classes at the university. His claims are questionable at best, and nobody remembers such an incident from the class. The Nanterre prosecutor, Catherine Denise, said that they do not have proof of radicalization, but rather a feeling that they are dealing with someone who is very religious, very pious, very practicing. Okay, somebody who acts out like this in defense of their religion, how can you not say that that is radical? How can you not say that that is a result of radicalization? Somebody who believes that it is their duty to take somebody's life because they engage in blasphemy against their religion. That is the definition of radicalism.
Yeah, but what they... Okay, so what they're trying to say is that maybe this wasn't about being a religious radical, but he more about having a personal hatred towards somebody. What did the teacher, they said that he failed him or something?
Yeah, but she said that it's not because of radicalization, but because he's very religious.
Oh, what the fuck? Okay.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. Okay, so that's stupid, but what about, how would you respond to people that say, this has nothing to do with Islam, this seems like somebody had a personal grudge against the teacher, and that's because, how would you respond to that?
Well, I mean, this happened last year. I mean, he was kicked out for failing his exams last year. It wasn't even this year.
When was that alleged blasphemy happen against Prophet Muhammad?
Last year as well, during his English classes at the university.
So what's your argument?
My argument is that it wouldn't be for him failing classes. I mean, especially whenever he comes out and says that it's because he insulted the Prophet Muhammad. Like that was his reason. He confessed that he had a personal grudge against him for failing the exams, but he said that it was that he claimed to the French police that it was because he made fun of Islam during the English classes.
Okay, so. By the way, really sad for this guy. What's his name again? It's the teacher?
His name was John Dowling.
And what was he teaching?
He was an English language teacher at a Paris university, Pole Universitaire Leonardo da Vinci.
I mean, if he insulted Prophet Muhammad, then he's my kind of teacher. But the thing is that if this seems to me, it seems like, and I can't be sure, this seems like exactly how it works with a lot of other people that commit crime in the name of their religion, especially Islam. A lot of people say,
Right.
like, oh, this is not religion, this was something else. Or some people say, no, this is religion and nothing else. And for a lot of situations, it's actually both. And what we claim is that religion, is a very negative force when it comes to influencing behavior like this. We're not saying it was the only ingredient, but we're always saying it's a very negative and a destructive ingredient, right?
Right.
Religion doesn't have to be the only reason, the only force here, the only cause here for it to be a negative one and one worth fighting against, right? Like,
why are stabbings carried out in most of these quote unquote honor killings? What is the purpose of that?
no, so depends on case by case. But what happens is, either like you could find examples of people that are purely motivated by their religion, right, and nothing else. Okay, but you could also find examples of people that are motivated by something else: political hate, personal grudge, but then they use their religion as a way to justify their action. Even though the original motivation is something else, religion is still playing a negative impact here by making you feel that you're doing a moral thing, like for you to personally justify it to yourself that this person is deserving, right? The thing is that in both of these examples, religion is a disease and is causing major harm, right? But when a lot of people try to excuse Islam, what they do is like, look, not all Islam was not the motivation was something else. But even in the scenarios where the main motivation is something else, Islam provided a cover either by providing an excuse to in countries where religion, when Islam is the rule of law, you either is a justification to for the government or to your own personal moral compass. Your moral compass is now fucked up because something that you wanted to do, like sometimes maybe you wanted to kill this person, but you thought better of it and you didn't. But religion came out and fucked up that barrier, and now you saw it completely justified, even though the original motivation was something else. You want to add something, Jim?
No, I just find a shocking parallel in many of these honor attacks that are done with knives, that are done at people's throats, that are done cutting people's throats, trying to decapitate them, in that it has chronic parallels. It is a commandment to cut off the heads of non-believers and to kill them where they are. And so perhaps he left. Maybe he was enraged by being failed from his exams, but I believe that in the end, his religion, his conviction, is what gave him the courage to carry out the attack.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what I was suggesting as well. What I'm trying to suggest again is that people that say Islam has no influence and this is all something else, they're completely off.
Of course,
but
absolutely.
But also people that say that it's Islam and nothing but Islam.
That's wrong.
That's wrong. But you can find some examples of that being true, but in many examples it's not. In many examples, Islam was a very negative influence, but it's more complicated than that. But go on.
for those who are claiming that, there were many other non-believers there, many other non-believing teachers. This student had in fact not been allowed on campus. He had tried for 2 years to attend this management course at this college, and was eventually kicked out due to his grades and his behavior. But for anybody claiming that it is solely Islam, why didn't he attack any of the other non-believers there? Why was this attack solely focused on his teacher? You have to admit that there is some other extraneous source of his anger, some other event that he was directing his anger at, besides his disbelief, besides him not being a Muslim. So I mean, you have to immediately discredit that. He did not do it solely because his religion commanded him to. Maybe that's what gave him the courage and the final little justification to carry out his actions, but that wasn't what caused the thoughts to begin with.
Yeah, and again, a lot of people use religion, and religion for them is the tool, and a lot of people religion for them is the goal. In both cases, religion is a negative influence. Pakistani atheist is saying Islam is a crock of shit. The poor lecturer was very correct. If he mocked the false prophet Muhammad, I mean, there is no such thing as a real prophet, so all prophets are false prophets. So this cancer of the mind needs to be cured. I agree with you, Pakistani atheists. I hope that anybody hearing us saying that sometimes Islam is not the only factor, they don't see that as us making excuses for Islam. We're not making any excuses for Islam. Islam is a fucking disease. But what we're suggesting, Islam, when we say Islam is not the only factor, what we do suggest is that whenever, even if it's not the only factor, when it is a factor, it's a very negative factor. Let me see what else. Uday is saying, do we have incidents of people from non-Islamic religious stabbing others for insulting their prophet or religion? I mean, I'm sure you could find examples for anything you want. And obviously we have Christians killing blasphemers or apostates. I don't know if it was necessarily with a... I mean... yeah, it was with swords and stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could find many examples of that. But just because you can find examples of that doesn't... you can't find examples of people, non-Islamic religious stabbings. I'm pretty sure you can. But that but that doesn't mean that we don't recognize that Islam encourages that more than other religions.
And not only that, but we also recognize patterns. I mean, there have been several instances where people have said that they carried out the stabbing because of their religion.
Right. Yeah. So just because you can find examples of other people doing it does not deny the fact that it seems to be a thing more with Islam.
Exactly.
Anyways, that's about it. Most of the comments on Facebook is about, religion of peace. I expected that. The insanity of religion. Yep, same comments as I expected on this. Some memes that I can't explain because this is going to be on the podcast as well. So I want to make sure that our podcast people don't feel left out.
Right.
But anyways, thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody in the live chat. And YouTube live chat, Rebel Sugar,
Rebel Sugar,
Beej, Muscal, Jesus Christ is in the YouTube live chat. Well,
Jesus Christ!
Hi, Jesus. What an honor!
I'm a big fan of your work.
Christy, as always, is lovely to have you. Mars is here. Hi, Mars. What about you? I'm pretty sure Beej is still here somewhere. Uday, I'm having a meeting, I think, with Uday this Saturday. Oh, by the way, Jim, I have to talk to you about our meetings on Sunday. Sorry.
Saturday.
No, Sunday. Sorry. Mike is here. Casey Atheist. Who else? Salim Raza, Pakistani Atheist. Haley Mew. And on Facebook live chat, Philip, Robert, Isaiah. Sorry if Jen Morgan. Sorry if I missed anybody. I wasn't. Casey Atheist. Sorry, Muscal. Love you all. Thank you for correcting us where we made a mistake. Thank you for disagreeing with us. And see you again next week.